we can get that done. All right, so 6:36. Welcome, everybody. This is a meeting of the HPDD Review Board for July 13, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. Present is Michelle Van Riet, Michelle Van Riet, Doug Briggs, Jim Barrington, Dick Williams, myself, Chris Senical, Tamika Murphy's the secretary. Also tonight, Dave George, the town planners here, who will be very instrumental in tonight's discussions, as well as Mike Sullivan from the RDIC. These guys, I'm sure, will have a lot to add. At this time right now, first thing on the agenda is the meeting minutes from June 22nd, 2022. Anybody have any issues? I didn't have any issues with it personally.
Make a motion to accept June 22nd minutes.
Motion to get a second?
Second.
Second by Doug. Any discussion regarding the minutes from June 22nd? Hearing none? Okay, hearing some?
I don't, the board, there's no page number,
Take your time, we've got a couple seconds.
third page. The board did not feel that utility drawings were necessary for their review.
Specifically, maybe we could add electric utility. Because the National Grid and Verizon will do their own drawings, that the applicants are gonna have to follow those drawings, and we really don't have anything over that, so to speak. They've got the easement for them, but,
This is coming off of Maple Ave.
no, this is, well,
See,
yes,
this
it's
is this-
everywhere, it's everywhere.
And this is where I was concerned, because originally, before we even got started with these people, we talked about, underground power coming up.
Yeah.
And I thought that we should be somewhat involved in that section, up
Okay,
to
so
the
let me
properties that
just
are there.
state this much. As far as the minutes go, I think this is the way we discussed it, that we were just gonna let them deal with National Grid and take it from Maple Ave.
For their,
For their development. It would
For
be-
their
they would start at
development.
Maple Ave, come up the Rutland Heights Way, and then through their development, okay? I thought personally that we just left it to them, that they were gonna deal with that. Now, if you wanna discuss that more, now, if that's not the way you remember it, that's one issue. If you wanna discuss it more in detail tonight, that's a separate issue, but are the minutes the way you thought we talked about it? We can still change it, Dick.
the only thing I would say is that I just want to be involved with what comes from Maple
On that
Ave,
process.
the process,
Yep,
from
yep.
Maple Ave up to that.
Okay,
Because
I don't remember discussing that last week.
It wasn't
But
discussed.
we
It
can
it
discuss
wasn't, but
that
in the
tonight.
back of my mind, I'm thinking, we did discuss it way earlier, I'm
Maybe,
talking
yeah.
months
Yeah,
earlier.
maybe way back when.
So, and that's, I just
Maybe.
didn't know if that should be in there or not. I will.
Well, if we didn't discuss
withdraw
it, it should be. If
Let's
somebody
keep it
remembers
out.
discussing
Yes.
it, it should be.
It
I'll
was
keep it
not
out.
discussed that way. It was discussed that it was just gonna be
Okay.
up to the
But we
grid.
can certainly
All right.
be the topic
Revisit it
tonight.
later tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So change it to add electric or not add electric?
In my opinion, I wouldn't,
Okay,
but
No.
we certainly can make that an order of condition going forward.
okay.
Yeah, we can discuss later tonight.
Yeah.
Okay?
Thank you.
But just as far as I remember it, I think this was pretty accurate personally.
Okay.
So we have a motion. We had a second by Doug?
Yeah, yeah.
More discussion? Yeah.
No discussion. Just give me one more second.
Oh, sure. Yeah,
Okay.
no problem.
What I'm looking for is the specific discussion that we had about the granite on the
Catch basins?
Huh?
Catch basins?
Catch bases. And I know I made a comment that there were no granite on Maple Ave project, which I know I'm wrong. But,
You know, I do, now that you say that, Doug, I remember that being discussed. I don't remember where we discussed it
Okay.
and how the, I think I could maybe, I believe we were discussing the comments from Quinn of June 2nd, and give a reference where that talks about that, and then maybe insert that in that. Catch basins,
It was under the waiver section,
the waiver sections.
number, item waiver D, the June 2nd letter.
Thank you, Wes. Okay, so pipe drain material before that, probably towards the back of these notes.
Yeah. Is that, right here?
Yep, item D right there, so what's that near in this? Well, on comment number 20, Doug, we discussed the waiver for the spacing of the catch basins.
Right.
So, I mean, you guys comfortable just putting it right in below that, or part of that comment number 20? Just to have that in the notes?
Make a part of comment 20.
Make it part of comment 20?
Yeah.
Okay, that we discussed, so basically Tamika, to comment 20, if you just add a sentence that the board discussed having granite curbing for all catch basins,
Okay,
okay?
got it.
That were along the curb,
I'm sorry?
that were along the curb. There are a couple catch basins that aren't gonna be,
Correct, if we give you the waiver for in the driveways, obviously, that's, yeah. Yep.
Okay.
So if you wanna just note that, that's just only the catch basins along the curbings,
Sure,
okay?
I will make that
Not the
specific.
not the catch basins that would fall in a driveway,
Okay.
in front of a driveway. All right, any other discussion, or any more time needed for these minutes? Okay. All right, hearing none, all in favor of accepting the minutes from January 22nd as presented and amended? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye?
Abstain?
Okay, one abstain. Any nays? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously among the four board members. All right, thank you. That's the minutes. Next up on the agenda is the continuance of the Harbor Classic Homes definitive plan for the proposed 55 and over community up at the Rutland Heights Way. So, just to kind of get a recap, I think we've kind of, we all know where we're at right now. We've discussed everything in details. We've gone over all the Quinn reports, your back and forth. We've had some things. We received some, as far as new material this week. We just got a set of revised site civil plans from the applicant that just was received today. I took a very brief look at those personally. I did see a few things that we had talked about were corrected, so that's good.
yep, and I'm willing to go over the
Yep.
changes, there's not a ton of them to the plan, so.
All right, terrific. Maybe we can start with that in a minute. Also, just want to kind of let the board and everybody know, I really want Dave George to be a major part of tonight's meeting. And Mike, I open this invitation to you as well.
Thank you.
I really want to start narrowing this thing down. And Attorney Campobasso, I'm going to look to you three guys especially to help frame this up so it's amenable to both parties here. The town, and going forward, and you, obviously you're representing your applicant, I'll tell you that. So, but let's just start getting this thing down to the nitty gritty here. Let's start working towards, we'll go over some of the changes you made, Wes, and then we want to just dive into the orders and conditions. I think everybody on the board kind of we've heard all the information just to hear, other than these amended changes. Let's just get through that, and then let's get down to brass tacks and start getting this decision prepared. Sound good? So, Dave, Mike, and Attorney, please, this is informal here. This is not, we're not, just please speak up at will, and let's just get all the information out there as quick as possible. Wes, same thing. And let's just bang through as fast as we can. All right?
So, Mr. Chairman, what I had suggested earlier today to both Wes and Dave, we had gone through the list of the bullet items that was communicated by yourself. What we're trying to do is just narrow down what's going to be on the site plan so that we don't have to have a list of conditions that's, 30, 50 deep.
I totally agree, Attorney. I was just gonna say that list, and just so you guys know, I put that list out there just as like a to-do list, slash, if you read my email, I highlighted some things that really is kind of for more discussion.
Right.
Or correct, or just added to the site plan. So if we can shrink that list down, I don't want, a scroll here of order of conditions.
So,
right.
so what I am suggesting and what Dave and I spoke about earlier today is since the site plan will have a majority of these items and they're on the plan,
Yep.
we don't need to have a separate condition to that effect. So Wes can show you where they exist on the plan so we can narrow it down that way.
I am in total agreement with that, and I'd just like to ask anybody, Dave, you're obviously in agreement with that, Mike, you're good with that, and the board members, everybody's good with that, right? If it's on the plan, we don't need an order of condition. I don't have anything to do with
The
that.
only thing I'd add to that is, we have 2 working documents. If we could maybe stick to the format of the documents and go in order, and just check them off, so that we can just work our way through methodically, maybe starting with your memo on behalf of the HPDD board, and then going to the recommended conditions from Quinn.
Correct.
Just systematically go through it.
I think it's a great idea, Dave. Yeah, we got your memo too. Dave put out a memo this week that, I know he had talked to you, and I think we're all in favor of, I'm taking Dave's lead on this one, because
Okay.
he's the guy writing this decision right now. That's why I think it's important. He's almost part of this board tonight to help us just drive that picture, that framework for the decision, and I couldn't agree with anything
Okay.
more than you guys have said.
So if that's the case, then perhaps you want the applicant to lead the discussion and go through the list, which you do have. This was circulated to the applicant.
Yes, and I think if we start with those, just going over the drawings, the new drawings he submitted, we can check off some of these things right off these lists, and then we'll go through that list, what's left, right? Does that sound pretty good?
Yeah.
Because I think he's corrected some of these things on these drawings, and then we know, we don't have to discuss them
If
anymore.
you're gonna do it that way, if you just call out exactly what item
Absolutely.
it is,
Yep,
so that we have kind of going in order.
absolutely, Dave. Yeah, this will be a little helter-skelter here at first, but,
So I'll kind of flip through this. Unfortunately, I
If you want to read it.
misplaced my copy and I can read it off with Wes, but the first thing about the construction traffic, that should be a condition because we obviously can't show that on the site plan, so
yes.
the applicant doesn't have a problem with making sure that the traffic can only use Maple Street and not cut through.
Perfect. And Mr. Williams had mentioned something in the email to us. He had just had a comment. There was no discussion about it in internal emails. And there was something said about during the summertime you could use it.
I just don't know if that's easy
Correct.
for you.
When the schools are not in session, you can go that way.
Okay.
You can go through there. So
Okay.
that's the way we're gonna word that. I didn't have it in this, but we had discussed allowing that to happen, and I see no reason not to have it. I mean, if it's too complicated for you, you just wanna tell you guys never go there, I get it. But just so you know, we don't mind you using it if you had to.
Okay,
During the summer.
With the exception, except that what, it can be used during,
During the summertime,
school vacation.
school vacation,
Actually, you should say summer.
summer school vacation.
Summer school
Yeah.
vacation.
Sometimes it's just better to tell the guys never go there, so they don't have to think about it. But
Exactly.
for the guy that's actually gonna drive that dump
I
truck.
mean, there is summer school too, so maybe while school's not in session.
There's not that much for traffic.
Yeah, it'd be a non-issue.
All right, so we'll just amend that way.
Yeah.
And,
And then the second item about the driveways not being turned over or not being petitioned to be turned over to the town as public ways, that should be a condition. You can note it on the plan, but it should probably be.
yeah, I think that should stay there. And Dave, petition is the right word. Please don't use my legal prowess on how I've written these things. I'm not a lawyer, so,
I will be modifying some of the
yeah,
language
please
as
do.
needed
Please take
and
your
working
legal
with-
poetic license and put in the proper words.
Okay,
I do appreciate that you do have the substance of what's really.
That's all it
playing
is,
here.
the
We'll
substance,
just-
just not the,
Yep.
I'm no lawyer.
so we did, the next item, number 3, we did talk, it pertains to the phasing.
I saw the phasing plan, looks good to me.
So the phasing takes into consideration the other condition that we comply with what's the language that's in the purchase and sale agreement. So
Yes.
that it's done, so many units are done by a certain time.
Now, real quick, what were those, just to be sure here, we're approving something that's correct. Do you know the number of units per phase? And
I do.
what do you got, Wes?
So it was 40 in the first phase.
Does that match up with what you did, obviously, right? Did you check that?
And when we say 40 units, Wes, are we saying 40
20.
duplex units?
20
or-
duplex.
Yeah,
Which one
okay.
do you
And that's what I know we had talked about before, Ron, correct? And then 58 in the second, and then 44 in the third is how it laid out with regards to the streets.
Beautiful. Yeah, you got 40 in the first one. Yep.
And there is a section that, I can show with the hand here on the screen. There is a section in here that could go to phase 3 if need be, because I know we are, the intent obviously is to get the road looped out on the second phase,
So how many in the second phase did you say?
58. And that includes basically finishing the loop road on the site, but also getting the sewer and the water out to the existing
And
driveway.
yes, on that, in that second phase, yes, it is that, so is any of the utility work shown in any of the phase, or just just this units here? Well, I mean, you're gonna have to have that hooked up, so yeah.
Yeah, the sewer and the water out to that driveway will have to be hooked up.
The utilities have to be
Yeah,
installed.
and the drainage too. Yeah,
Yeah, and that's when the loop ties in. The first phase, you're just running off the one loop, one water loop in, one sewer line, that's fine.
Correct.
On that second phase, boom, that ties in, and that sets you up for your third phase, which is the inside of the
and
loop.
yeah, really the third phase of the 2 interior roads.
Yeah, and that's just building that out. And that, I counted these units as you're saying this, Wes, so you're spot on, brother.
Yeah.
All right, so 40 in the first phase, Dave, 58 units in the second phase.
I don't mean to interrupt.
No, please do, just to be informed.
I would just want to ask you the question. So under the LDA, it's 2 phases. It's 88 units by year 4.5, and the remainder units by year 6.5. Any suggestions to reconcile the two phasing schedules?
Well, between the 20 and the 30, I think that gets us to the 88, right?
Phase 1 and phase 2 gets us to the 88.
96 units.
Yeah, within, what, 4.5 years, right? So that's,
Yeah.
I'm sure if Ron and Laurel can sell more units than the 88 within 4.5 years, I'm sure they're gonna do it, so.
I guess what,
I would suggest, Dave, that we just incorporate language that says the number of units to be consistent with the land disposition agreement.
which is 2 phases,
Correct.
technically. I don't want to confuse the 2 phases there versus the 3 phases here. That's what I want to try to.
For the HPDD board's purposes, they're taking phases in consideration of how the site is going to be
Construction.
developed,
Right.
not necessarily the number of units based on getting 88 done by a certain time frame. So for their purpose, we want it to be the 3 phases. We can just add language that says, to be consistent with,
Yeah.
the land disposition agreement.
I think that's an excellent
This way
approach.
here, it
Because you can accomplish that 88 units within the 4.5 years, and really, it doesn't make a difference where you are phase-wise. You could have all 3 phases done, and you've met that first agreement.
Okay.
Correct.
So you don't see a conflict. What I'm going to do is have the LDA as a condition and this as a condition. So you don't see any conflict with the phasing. Okay, fine, good.
I mean, technically, it's just 2 different phasing groups. One is for construction purposes, and one is for your
I just
sale of
wanted
land
to
or
just
whatever.
discuss it and kind of talk it out. So
Yeah, no, that makes
No,
sense.
good point, good
That
point.
makes
To
sense.
make sure the language is in there so people know they're not the same, phase. Yeah, good call, good catch.
So that's going to be a condition as it, okay, good.
Yeah, you can add that to that, Dave. Okay.
So the next item, I might take.
So then we'll keep that number 3, again, attorney, we'll keep number 3 with that language.
Correct.
Referencing the drawing in the LDA.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, yep, go ahead.
So the next item 4, I think what we'll do is we'll take 4 and 24 out of order, because those are the waiver requests. And in the Quinn letter to the board, the waivers are at the very end.
Yeah, we'll just keep them that way.
Yep.
Yep.
Items 5, 6, and 7 all deal with the orders of conditions that were issued by the Conservation Commission. The orders of conditions were approved. I don't know when the decision was filed, but I'm assuming the 10-day appeal period has run, and I don't think we've had any notices of appeal of the orders of conditions. So those orders of conditions were approved by the Concom, and they're already in effect. So I don't know if they included language about the stormwater pollution matter,
Protection plan, yeah.
but we can incorporate that into these conditions,
Yeah.
that we keep them informed as to what
Yeah.
the
Because, and the
stormwater-
purpose of this was, there was a memo from the Conservation Commission
Yep,
that they asked us to put that in there, Peter, if you remember.
exactly.
So I'm, this is just one board
Yes.
working with the other board.
Yes,
We're
sir.
giving them that respect so that, hey, it's part of our conditions that, if you're not keeping them in the loop, hey,
So I think,
You're not meeting your
my
conditions, you're
understanding, based on my discussions with the DPW director, is the stormwater permit is issued through the DPW.
correct, yeah.
So we can just make sure that Concom has a copy of whatever we submit to the DPW to keep them informed.
It's just an enforcement thing,
Yep,
that if these guys have a problem, they gotta go to Mike or Dave, and boom, this board can act upon that. Yep. Perfect, okay.
and when, and as Wes has pointed out in the previous meetings, once we start the construction, or once we get close to the construction, and we have to file for the Nippety's permit, that will also make sure the town gets a copy of that.
And I tried to leave it loose
So-
because every town, you deal with the DPW guys, everybody does a little differently, the Concom. So it's comfortable for you just to kind of feel your groove with how the town, these people want it, and as long as there's no problems here.
So I think maybe items 5, 6, and 7 can sort of be lumped into one condition.
One item?
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that, David, if you're fine with that.
I am.
The board, guys, again,
Yes.
please, just if you guys have any problems with anything, this is informal, just speak up,
Yeah.
speak your mind, or hold your peace.
Right, because it's all related to the same
Yeah,
document,
absolutely.
basically, okay?
Yeah, it's the same issue, basically, and ties back to the same things. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, good.
Next item has to do with the materials for the walking trails, and I think Wes has shown that on the plan, and the Concom was requesting that it be stone dust, if my memory serves me correctly.
It's gonna be, we had made the statement at the Conservation Commission meeting that it was gonna be stone dust, and they were the ones that recommended that, and I know Ron and Laura were fine with that, and so that's what we had made that statement, that it was gonna be stone dust.
Okay, and
Instead
there
of
was,
DPW.
what's that?
Instead of TPW. All right, Concom knows what kind of stuff to put down on rail trails. That'll be a first.
Well, there was something, Quinn had a comment, and it was way back in the very beginning, their first one. Something about the surface of that. Was there an issue of something about a pipe being too high, and you didn't have the cover, Wes?
Yeah, that was a different comment, I'm not sure,
Okay.
I think it was still,
I think we're just on comment number
Yep.
8, which has to do with the materials being used for the surface of the walking trail.
Okay, so as a board, are
There's
we,
other items in here that deal with the walking trails.
walking
but
trail, we'll
not-
keep them in that
Yeah,
way?
not the
This is just the surface of the walking trail. Are we comfortable with that stone dust?
It'll work. It'll also disappear.
Where does it go?
It'll work its way down through.
Concom's good with it?
they were the ones that recommended it.
What else would you recommend?
Let's put it this way, what I recommend, it's too expensive. No. Go ahead,
You want
leave
that
it,
yellow
but-
brick road going down there?
Yeah, no.
You toad up and what?
No.
No, no
Hot
problem.
top, but-
If you're good with
but-
that, yeah,
but
hot top
also,
would be, hot
yeah.
top's the best, but yeah, let's face it. Yeah, okay.
It's gonna be the,
If we're fine with that, let's just, yeah,
maintenance and things like that to keep track of it.
I mean, they're gonna have to maintain it.
Well,
Roll it.
So the condition here is to add stone dust as the material.
And Wes, can you show me that on the plan, what detail you got on that?
I don't have a detail on the walking path.
Okay.
It was just verbally agreed on between this Conservation Commission. I'm not sure if it ever made its way
What do
into
they have
the
for
findings or in the order
What do they have
conditions
in
on
the
that.
I don't think it's in the special conditions now.
I thought there was a detail of the walking trail on there, cross section.
Well, that's one of the items on the list that we're gonna discuss.
Never walked it.
The cross section of the walking trail?
I think it's stone.
But is there a detail in your
Seems to
plans?
be-
No,
That's
for not for
Seems
the
to hold
walk.
up pretty
Not for the
good.
walkway?
Pressure run
Pressure run would be good.
is what normally goes down,
Yeah.
to stay put. Locks in better.
All right. All right, yeah,
Just to
I'm
keep
fine
in
with
mind, crush or run.
So,
I don't, honestly, I don't have a preference.
If they've already gone with the,
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't, you know, I don't wanna dig up
Move on.
the earth. Let's keep it at that and let's just move forward.
so if you look at item number 8, which talks about the materials to be used for the surface of the walking trail being approved by the Concom, which it was. Down below, you have items 13, 14, and 15 that also deal with the walking trail. 13 deals with the walking trail to be connected to the path that goes through the woods to the school.
Yep.
And it talks about easements and things of that nature. Because obviously, I don't know exactly what type of easement would be required, but I can talk with I can talk with town council about that. Because depending on the walking trails on the interior of the site, one of the conditions in here talks about it being open to the public. So we would need to give some type of easement to the town.
Yeah.
And then maybe a cross easement would come from the town for the areas outside the site.
Yeah.
So I can work with that with town council so that we can make sure that those are mutually acceptable.
I'm fine with that.
I think in principle I am too,
Yeah.
because that is
He's
gonna
right. You
take
gotta, both sides are gonna have
time
to
to
process.
draft it, to process it, and I don't think that's something that should hold up a decision.
I don't either. I don't either.
So what I'm gonna suggest with this, as well as with the homeowner documents and the deed restrictions.
Yep.
What I had talked with Dave about was, for the board's purposes, we'll put a condition in there, and we'll just have it read so that the deed restriction for the senior housing, the walking trails, the road maintenance, the what have you, all has to be reviewed and approved by town council prior to the first occupancy permit being issued. This way here, it won't hold up construction,
Yeah, just keeps everything moving forward.
keeps everything moving forward, gives
fine
us
with
plenty
that.
of time
I'm
to
fine with
work it out. So I had discussed that with Dave earlier. I think it's a reasonable request.
Yeah, and I, you know, one other item that I don't, just, because this is a good reason to have. So one other item I did want to add to the order of conditions is that, you know, that the board reviews, you know, at the end of the when it's time to issue certificate of occupancy, that these orders have been met.
Right,
Okay, so that'll be a condition in here. So there's gonna be a check and balance to this.
right.
That we're gonna, hey, you got all those things checked off the town council, everybody's good. So all these things that you're doing from now to the next 6, 8 months, whatever, great, do it, bang it out, and then before you wanna get your certificates of occupancy, we just check off that the roads, the signage, everything's done the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So before we move on, so 13, 14, 15, would you consider consolidating those?
Well,
Or would you have a proposal there?
I mean, 8 and 15 is kind of the same thing, to be honest with you.
so,
I just screwed up.
So 12 deals with the walking trails being open to the public easements. So as we said, I'll work with town council. Walking trails to go up through the woods to the school pretty much ties into the walking trails. 14 deal,
Has anybody talked to the school? Because way back, that trail that went between the two, was the science teacher, had science projects in there? Is there still science projects going on that trail? Is that something that you should,
yeah, we will.
I think you better check and make sure you're not stepping on somebody's toes at the
Yeah.
school.
No, that's fine.
Thank you.
That's not a problem. 14 deals with the walking trail being placed on a plan for the town to approve. So I would imagine we can I can talk with Wes, we can have it show on the site plan, or we can have a separate detail that shows those.
You know, even if you had a note on there to work it out, the DPW or something, on where to put that, does that sound like something that, so there's flexibility on where we put it? You know, I mean, I hate to put something so specific on a plan, you know, from this point A to point B, that, you
Well,
know, maybe that, this point is a science project right here, we gotta go over here.
We gotta go
We have to
locate it
locate
first.
things if we do that, and it's running into a lot of money.
Right,
Yeah.
so keep in mind that eventually the walking trail will be established and it'll exist on the ground.
Yeah.
in order for you to properly do an easement, you have to identify the location of the easement.
Yeah.
So at some point, it will be clearly defined. We can maybe do the same thing. Once they get out there and they actually start doing
Okay.
their site work and they know where things are gonna go, we can come back to the board and say, here's the walking trail plan.
Yep.
So it'll almost be an as-built.
Yeah.
Well, technically, if we're gonna record easements at the registry of deeds, we have to have some
Have to
type
have
of a
that.
plan that
Yeah,
details.
you have to have a plan showing where the
Exactly.
easement's going, so.
So, to your point, Mike, yes, it's almost like it's an as-built.
Right.
So we're gonna keep 12 through 15, but we're gonna write them in such a way that it's a future obligation.
Correct.
And you don't think that, any way you see to merge these? Take, maybe get 4 conditions down to 2 or 1?
I tend to think, Dave, we can break them up into 2, because one talks about the
I mean, 14 and 12 can definitely be together.
8 and 15 talk about the surface. So 8 and 15 could probably be combined.
Should be one anyway, they're really the same thing.
Correct.
And then 12, 13,
12,
and 14 are
13,
really
and
the same
14
thing.
are all the
That's kinda
same
what I'm
thing.
getting at.
Yep.
All right, good enough.
So we can combine those 5 into 2.
So we'll keep these as conditions, we'll combine, and we'll clean up the language, and, all right, good.
Just a question on 14.
Yep.
When you specifically have in here, plan for the town's approval, what is that really? Who is approving? This is just for the easement?
No, I would say that the town probably, I don't think the town would approve the easement plan. I think it's more that
Location.
we've complied with having a walking trail within the site.
Okay,
So
so there's
that
no
we-
town meeting vote or?
No, it would be
You
the
know-
RDIC, Doug, right?
Right, BRDIC.
Yeah.
No, I actually.
No, because that's outside the
I
RDIC.
actually think it
That's
would
the
have
school
to be
property.
Oh,
something
sorry.
that comes to the board, because it's really a part of the application.
You mean
and the
this
site.
board?
Exactly,
Okay,
yes.
all right, I was just didn't know who we were expecting to.
Well, my intent on 14 was that somebody at the town outside this board needs to say, you can use this piece of property on the school's property. And I think that's out of our jurisdiction, like you know.
Yeah, but
between
why do we
the
even
RDIC
have
and
to worry about the school property? Go to the fence or whatever it is, and that's it.
So
I thought, so
No.
the intent was to connect this trail to the parking lot at the school.
Right. And allow
So that
people.
public people could park up there and then use the trail all the way down to the pond,
So
as it is right now. That's
HCH
existing right now.
Yeah.
HCH is gonna build a walking trail from the fence line to the parking lot?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I misunderstood that whole thing.
That's a long way.
No, that's not what we understand.
I didn't
So
realize we were doing that.
there's two things at issue.
Yep.
What's before the HPDD board, to your point, which is correct, is there's going to be a walking trail that is shown on this site plan within the confines of the site that the HPDD board can approve,
Which is there now.
which is there now.
Okay.
What takes place outside of that site plan is something that we're gonna deal with the town later on.
Okay. So it's not a part of this process?
Just within the only part that's before this review board is what exists inside the
Correct.
site itself.
Okay, yep, I agree.
Fence line.
So that's why, to Ron's point and to Wes's point, at some point, once they're out there and they know where things are actually gonna be going, and the site plan and the walking trail becomes more clear, we can submit, an amendment or some type of a drawing to the board that shows where it's gonna be within the site.
Well, within your site,
Yes,
all right, that's shown on this plan right now.
okay, bingo. Then we'll-
That's what, so I just want to talk to the board here. Am I mistaken? I was under the assumption that there was going to be a trail from this network of trail that you have now within your site, within your parcel. It was going to extend up to that, the parking lot at the Central Tree School, so that could be accessed by the public. Now,
There's already a trail on the school property, correct?
There's a path, yeah.
And so the intent is to, from,
Just to connect up to that? Is that
correct.
To be right
Okay,
at, the-
correct.
to be
So-
right at the boundary line.
From somewhere in this corner of our trail system here.
Wes, can you go to drawing, oh geez, I don't know what number is this? It's the one, it's the whole overall site plan, this one here. It shows the walking trail up there at the top of the detention basin.
Yeah, this
Goes
is,
around the
which is
detention
where, so this is that corner
Oh, right
here
there,
that
yeah.
we're looking at. And so, my
Is that where the trail comes out right now?
So I think you guys were telling me before that it comes out in this corner here of the school's property near the wetlands, right?
Yeah.
And so we don't have it located, we didn't go onto the school property to locate anything.
Gotcha.
And that's what we were talking about before, is once we get out here and start building it, we can as-built, when the trail is built, and then kind of as-built how the connection works. But on the ground, we can have the board members come out and take a look at it before they even build it,
Yeah.
to make sure you
Just
guys
make that
know.
connection.
Because I drew a trail on here, but the intent is to avoid trees. So if the trail winds differently than what I show on the plan, it's gonna change.
That's open along the fence line there, right?
Where you go up and attach to the road, is that the existing line right now to get into the trail that is there?
No, this is all proposed. This is
That's
the
new.
this is the new driveway within the site that has parking spaces across the street to service that walkway.
Yeah, because the trail only went up just so far, and then the town went and dumped logs and everything else and up above that curve.
Up here. Yeah,
Up in there.
anything on the Rutland Heights property
Yeah,
that's there now is gonna get removed. This will be the new trail.
that's gonna be where it
And
comes
so
out.
you would have to park in the visitor parking, then you get to the new trail.
Yeah.
And so if it extended all the way out to the back, then we can tie back into there.
Yeah.
But this is all gonna be grassed afterwards. So there's that paved driveway in there that was part of the hospital.
Mhm.
But yeah, I know at the end it's blocked off now and there's some debris along the
Yes.
way. But the rest of that's gonna end up being just torn out and be grass, and then there'll be a stone dust walkway throughout the woods. And like, you know, that's the thing is location we show on a plan, but if we run into a tree here and there, it's gonna go around the tree. We don't wanna remove.
This
We
thing
don't
don't
want-
want
yeah.
GPS in there. That's
Exactly,
pretty
we don't wanna remove
It's
a
a
couple.
walking trail, it's
Exactly,
not
yeah,
a
we don't wanna
interstate
remove
highway.
trees for a walking path, doesn't make sense.
Wes, can you point out where the break in the fences now that the school trail comes to roughly?
I don't know.
Dick, you know, because you
Yeah.
mow down there. Isn't
Put
it
your,
like
put your
halfway
finger
up?
back up there near the curb and come down just about near, Mike,
Here?
maybe a little bit further down.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's about the corner of the
Okay.
detention basin.
So wherever the,
So that could just tie right into that right there, Mike, you think?
That's what I'm
so
suggesting.
so wherever it comes out, we can tie into it.
Okay,
So that's
but
why-
you're not talking about
Right, well,
up
let's go.
above.
No.
See, that's what I thought you meant.
No, so if, I could switch over to the plane.
Henceforth, that's why we need to walk and get our fingers dirty sometime for crying out loud.
One walk up there, this thing would've been done.
You know, use a laser pointer.
Well, are we good with just having them tie in where it comes into the site?
Dick, I think it's not gonna be an issue for the school, because it would be Jen Schmoll, and I can ask her outside of the meeting, but, she takes them out there in the spring for like the vernal pools and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and if they're not gonna build a trail through the wetlands,
No, we are not. No.
so I don't
Yeah.
think it would be an issue if it's kind of tied into a
I used
path
to
that's
ride
already
My
there.
son used to ride mine.
It'll actually be
Right.
easier for her to get into
Thing,
there.
there ain't no-
It's nice.
Too
Right,
many
right,
projects
so
right
I
there.
really don't, I think it's gonna be a non-issue, but I can call her outside of this meeting and just confirm whether
So this is the paved driveway that was part of the hospital property.
Right.
Yeah,
yeah,
And that's all gonna be grassed afterwards. That's all grass. That's
Yeah.
all part of.
correct.
yeah.
So that's all gonna be removed and the new walkway entrance will be further down.
Yeah, it's about down at last house there is where there is a hole through the fence, and that's where the pathway for the science kids
Onto this,
are all doing.
which would be
Yes.
perfect, and we can tie right in there, the path's gonna be relatively close there, so that'll actually be a nice.
So can we just put some language, Peter, that will just tie into, you'll tie into the existing one?
Yeah.
And leave that path up through there, that way there's no easement issue, there's no baloney.
They're not fooling with the
Just,
science.
you just
Yeah.
meet up to the town, to your lot line, and it's done.
Yes.
Right where that thing comes into.
So
is
in that
right?
case, we're gonna strike walking trail shall go up through the woods to the school parking lot for
Correct.
public access and replace it with a
It'll
trail
connect.
We'll
shall connect to.
Connect.
Existing
Existing
path.
path.
property.
Existing path,
Yeah.
yep. All right,
And not only that,
we're all good there.
it's flatter up on the top right there too.
Yeah.
It might be easier for a handicap eventually.
Yeah.
Okay.
But then it would be on the town, that's town property, so it'd be
That's
on the
right.
town to fix
Yeah,
that part.
and then
of
the
it.
town will deal with their side, and he'll deal with his
Yeah.
side, and, you
Yeah.
know, everybody's happy campus.
And then we'll put a new road in from there all the way to Kenwood.
There you go. God. All right, so let's keep moving. Nice.
Okay,
All right.
Back to 9?
the 9 deals with the electrical power and communications being underground, as per utility company specifications.
Okay, so Dick, you had a comment there discussing
Yeah.
the minutes. So you just want to have some oversight or overview of this somehow? Or a final look-see approval kind of thing? What are you thinking?
One of the things that you brought up when we had a discussion way back when is the size of maybe the
The
tubing
duct
or
bank, yep.
when they're putting it in. For something else that may come in the future in those areas rather
Along
than.
that lowest section.
Yes, exactly. And
All right.
that's the only thing I would like to say, hey, can we, instead of having something small,
Yep.
a little bit bigger so that whatever comes in the future that goes on either side of the road,
So,
we can have it powered easily.
just to be clear.
Yep.
With a site like this, National Grid, Harbor Classic can't approach National Grid until the site plan's approved. Once the site plan's approved, we submit it to them, and
Yep.
they basically tell Harbor Classic.
Where you gonna put it? You put it on a drawing where you want to, but they're gonna tell you really.
No,
where you
I
go.
don't even show anything.
They're gonna
I
tell
give
you.
them our CAD drawing and they do it for us.
Yeah,
Well, usually you gotta give the transformer locations.
No, not even. Nope.
because
They always do,
they,
that's right.
they.
Regardless, I don't care. Keep
They,
going.
they
Yep.
just do, National Grid is gonna tell them,
Yep.
Trust me, I do this every day.
here's what you
That's-
have to install.
Yeah, for a residential project like
We do
this.
roadways, we do, you
So
know,
it's kinda
commercial
hard,
projects.
it's kinda hard to,
and we're okay with that, Peter.
okay,
We don't have a problem with that. Dick's concern is, let me just tell you the town's concern. So on that lower section of Rutland Heights, when you're coming off of 56, the flat part there, there's 2 more future lots there on both sides of that roadway.
yeah,
And there's no electrical on that road, okay?
Okay.
So you're gonna be bringing that duct bank up the road and doing your thing. And quite honestly, yeah, you meet their things, I'm fine with all that. We wanna make sure the duct bank's sized properly
okay.
for the future access off of those 2. Now, normally, I mean, 2 4-inch conduits is the minimum that National Grid is gonna require in a duct bank. And, you know, the days of putting 10 in a duct bank are kinda gone, okay? I mean, the last roadway I just did, we just finished up, and it had some massive power in this industrial park. We only had 4 pipes, because they put a couple switches along the way, okay? So you're gonna, you know, and they'll set up manholes to feed future lots, okay? So there might be something like that, Dick, down that lower section. So
Yeah.
we just wanna make sure that when this gets designed, the town has the right to have some say in the engineering, when there's because there always will be, once you get that application, there's an on-site meeting, the engineer comes out, you start walking the site, this is what I wanna do, right, boom, boom, boom. And we'd like to be a part of that, for the lower section, not for your section, but just for that lower section, and I'd be happy to go to that, or Mike and whatever, and we can just make sure that the town's protected,
That's fine,
that's all.
that's
So
fine.
really, it has nothing to do with
That's
you,
it.
we just wanna make sure we're covering our bases here, because once you're up that road, there's no going back.
Right, exactly.
I'd just like to add one thing, though. They have expressed an interest in that corner lot. We haven't talked about it in a long time, but it would be in their best interest, too,
Yeah,
to make sure that
Absolutely, Mike.
that it's there.
Yeah,
Right.
but
You know.
ultimately, it's in the town's best interest for us to keep promoting the rest of this land and the RDIC to keep selling lots, so whoever wants it, so.
It's just, it's very difficult, dealing with National Grid.
Oh, trust me, I
So-
can't stand them. We call Eversource Never
I'm not
Source.
trying to,
No, I deal with
I'm
them
not
every
trying
day.
to cast any,
You know,
aspersions
Peter,
or
just
anything
a
like that.
sidebar, I could call the town of Shrewsbury right now, and I'll get a line truck out there in an hour and a half, and we can change the service out to a 2,000 amp building in like a day's notice. National Grid, it's a 6-month process. It's the bureaucracy and the waste of money and time and energy, and that takes one of my office people, I mean, most of those jobs, we spend more hours in the office than you do in the field.
So
And
you
I'm gonna
know-
tell you something, that's torture and it's
So
wrong.
you know what they're up against.
It's absolutely torture. It's criminal what they do to people.
Okay.
Anyways, so I'm all with you there, but let's just frame some language into that we can be a part of those discussions.
So, are you gonna take the lead and frame 9? Or can you tell me, what are we doing for a condition for number 9? All electrical power and communication underground, is that staying?
Well, I think the condition, because obviously you don't want telephone poles, you want
No.
utilities to be underground.
Yeah, it's gonna be on the
That should be the condition.
It's a
It'd be the
requirement,
cheaper
it's
way
a
for-
requirement anyways under the regulations.
Okay,
That's
so,
the-
Cheaper enough.
It's cheaper way anyways, that's the way you wanna do it.
Are we adding anything to this condition regarding,
I just think something at the end of it, if you're okay with what it is right now, I'd just like to have something that, you know, a town representative of the HPDD board is part of the engineering conversations with National Grid
before any final.
before any final plan is approved.
Before any
and construction
utility
starts,
plan is approved.
That we just
approved
make
in
sure
town,
we've,
that it's reviewed by the town.
and then, you know, if Mike and I go to a meeting, we can just represent the town, say, hey, we wanna make sure we got enough electrical for these, or just the vaults and the switching needed for those areas. And we'll put the
I'll
infrastructure
stand
on
behind
the
you,
ground.
Chris, and go, yep, whatever it says.
So, all right, Dave?
All right.
I think so, I think we're gonna, obviously I'm gonna be
Rough, yeah,
framing these
clean
up.
this up,
I'll
we'll
work
give it
with
the
the
once over.
applicant's attorney,
Yep,
and, okay.
All right.
okay. All right, so we're keeping 9 and just amending that.
Number 10. Units shall be built as per the floor plans.
Well, so we only got that one little plan,
Right now.
that little piece of paper.
Right, we have not gone into detail
And
architect drawings until we know we've got.
I totally respect and understand that. I just wanna make sure that generic size that Mr. Purinton has
The
right there.
footprint is not gonna change.
Footprint's not gonna change.
There's the jog in the front on some units, but not on all.
Yep.
And the reason Wes showed a lot of those jogs is to make sure we covered that square footage needed in that area. May not be on that particular plan, because we, as the woman was here that month ago, if she decides she wants that unit, we can't tell her, well, we can't do it there, we gotta do it someplace else.
Yeah.
We don't wanna have that issue. You know what I'm trying to say? If she says, I wanna be over there,
Yeah.
and we have to move that jog, that's all our concern was.
So they're not really mirror image.
Well, some are and some aren't. When you look at the plan right now,
Some definitely will be, but some won't.
Some won't
Because
be.
of a larger garage like this.
so if you wanna just put some language in there that some will be mirror and some will not be, and I really personally, I don't, does anybody have a
Why does it
concern?
matter?
It doesn't matter to me.
Right,
The general footprint stays the same.
Correct.
As long as the setbacks and none of that stuff is encroached.
Exactly.
I really don't care how you lay it out there, right?
But why is it back to back and not side to side?
What do you mean
It's
back to back?
terminology.
Side to side? You lost me. See the top of these things right here? So see this right here?
Yeah.
Look at this floor plan. See how these are like mirror image? He's
Right.
got some like that, but then he's got some where this deck's over here.
It's because of the grading.
I get you.
And it's, okay, it's because of the grading,
Because
so,
of the site grading.
so honestly,
Correct.
whether it's deck and living room or living room and deck, I really don't, I don't see any reason for us to care.
Just verbiage, it just
Yeah.
sounds.
I didn't know how to verb it, so
You know, he-
that's why these guys get paid the big bucks, the lawyers, you gotta have them for something, they went to school.
So our main concern is
know how
we
to
don't
write
have
things.
1 2 bedrooms.
They're only 2 bedrooms.
That's right.
If
If
you
I-
get all this other back-to-back side by
If I
side.
could make a suggestion so that we don't.
Please.
It really should just be the footprint of the duplex. You know, the foundation footprint of the duplex,
Got
not,
that, Dave?
not necessarily the exterior, because they are gonna need some flexibility depending on, you know, site, grade, you know, who wants what, amenities.
Yeah.
So I think for the most part, it's easy to, it makes it easier for both if we say the footprint of the duplex building, you know,
Stays within that footprint.
exactly.
That's
And
fine.
you can, I don't care what you're doing, you got to meet the building codes, you know what you're doing.
Ron, do you want to even get that specific though?
Well, you have to be careful of
Because
the
some of,
jogs.
and that's why I don't want to, I don't know if you want to get that
You should
specific.
square off the rectangle,
Yes.
saying that they all have the jogs, and then we can arrange from within.
Which ones don't?
Well,
We decide which ones do or don't,
Yeah.
or the customer
the
decides.
customer
maybe-
does.
But that jog is on this plan, correct?
That's right.
Some of them
Wes
are, some
did
of them
show
aren't.
it
So if we just state you can build them within these footprints.
Right.
As,
as
you
a
know.
rectangle,
Right,
not necessarily the shape of that building.
yeah, either that or we can change it so that we take the jogs off and,
We could take the jogs off, or we have 2 jogs, we don't know.
okay.
It depends on the.
Can I ask you guys this? Can you just, to whatever you're thinking right now, envisioning, can you just mock that plan up and submit that, and we'll just say per the, I mean, it can't take too long just to add that, change that, right?
No, we can,
And then it's just, then you got a piece of paper you can refer to, it's done.
Right.
I have a question for Ron, so, or Peter.
on the,
Is this representative of the basic a floor plan?
That's correct.
So if I say in substantial accordance with the plan so referenced,
I think that might be better.
If you
Yeah,
look-
good, perfect.
Dave,
Dave.
if you look
Thank
at
you,
the
Dave.
front, and there's that
Excellent.
jog in the front,
Yep.
Yeah, no one's
we
gonna
wanna make
care.
sure it's square across, in case we have to have that jog on the second unit.
I mean, substantial
Yeah.
accordance.
Substantial accordance, I think
There you
is the
go.
correct term.
There you go.
Excellent verbiage.
Substantial
Yeah.
conformance.
Beautiful.
I do. So
You good with that?
Yeah, perfect.
I just want to be clear, because I think I understand what you're saying. Even within this floor plan on floor plan 1 or floor plan 2, they might be a little bit flipped within the floor plans, which is totally fine. But even, so I notice each one shows one jog and one without a jog.
Some of them don't, actually.
Oh, yes, I see that. Some of them don't.
So we just, when we were talking with Ron, we kind of just laid out different,
Generically.
exactly, generically, because we don't know, like you said,
What
depending
people
if,
will want,
correct.
or the layout of the land. So you
Well,
could
we
have
have a
some.
good idea of the layout of the land,
You do, okay.
but like, it's, I can want to buy this one, but I might not want that bump out. Or
And-
you could buy this one and want the bump out.
That's what I was
And so
thinking.
that, and
So
that's
that
why I
could
think the
happen.
language that
Yeah.
David has,
And some of them might have 2 bump outs and some of them have no bump outs,
Correct.
and it
That's
could be different.
correct.
And I'm totally fine with that. I just want to make sure that that's what you were,
And-
yes.
and that's why I
fine.
was concerned
Yeah.
about the exact, you know.
Yeah, and that's
using-
perfectly
and it-
reasonable, because you've
this-
got to sell what you sell to the
Correct.
people that want the, yeah.
And then it will also help from the building inspector's standpoint, because he has to make a judgment call on if it's being built according to the site plan.
Yeah.
Right.
That's true.
That makes sense.
Okay, so that's 10. 11, did we get the flow test done?
So we have one flow test done. We actually have, we're scheduled to go back out there tomorrow at 10 o'clock to do a couple more flow tests.
How'd the first one go?
So the static was, we were up near the pressure that was supposed to be for the static pressure. And then the residual is what concerned us because we're on a dead end. We want to check the Maple Ave and then we actually check the school water also to see what the water is. I know they don't connect, but that's a couple of the areas that we're looking to see because we were just talking to the water department about those.
Okay.
He was actually I can't remember Tim Maroney, I think is the new head of the water.
Yes.
So he was supposed to go out there today to take a look at some of the valves because we were concerned that some of the valves might not have been opened all the way on Rutland Heights Way. The other problem is Rutland Heights Way has nothing drawing from right now, so.
Has nothing what?
No, there's nothing drawing on Rutland Heights Way for water.
Oh, drawing.
Yeah,
so-
and, like, I think we talked about that, Wes, before, there's still gonna be future build out there, so.
Right, and so that's why, so tomorrow we're going out at 10 o'clock to do the Maple Ave test, to check, to verify some of our results, and then
Okay.
also check the school one too, to see if it would make sense to connect the two of them if the results come back.
So can we just leave 11 on there floating, and we'll deal with it next, in a couple weeks?
Yeah, and so I really hope that we have all the results
Then
tomorrow.
we can just, we can go one way or the other with it, right?
Yep.
Fair enough.
It's a water tank.
All right, 16?
The detention basin by the road with the post and rail PVC, I think,
I did should add that up to the plan.
I think that's what we agreed on the last few meetings.
Yeah.
And I think it's shown on the
You
plan.
got that on the plan list?
So zoom in here. Call it a poster rail fence right there. It's right here now. So here's the call out, and then I show the
Oh,
poster
right there,
rail
yeah,
fence down the
gotcha.
corner.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. You guys
And
good
then
with that?
then I
Board?
stop it, I stop it along the road when it gets to the stone, because there's a bunch of
Yeah.
riprap along.
Yeah, exactly.
Rutland.
Yeah.
We're gonna put the porta potties when we have the car parking. We just put the porta potties right there, so.
You put them there, boy, you're gonna be rolling down in the ditch with them. I don't wanna take that ride in the porta potty. You're gonna be more than a fence to save you a bacon.
You got some room on the other side, don't you? Or is that where you park the cars? I guess?
Better find
No,
out.
no, no, this is when we
You're gonna
have
get me in that thing.
the strongman competitions, whatever the hell it is.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And we parked 3,000 cars up there.
Question for Wes, so
3,000.
we see it on the plan, do we have it as a detail?
Hey.
I did not include it as a detail for something like that. I didn't get into the detail of what they wanna.
Something representative?
I can if you want, but Do you
I'll leave it
know
to the
post
board
and
if they-
rail-
If they're comfortable with it as noted on the plan, or if you want a detail, leave that to you folks. Just wanted to just.
You're
note
talking
it.
poster rail vinyl?
I didn't call it out. I didn't know. Are we doing
Just a
vinyl or you
double.
doing wood?
Well,
Just
I
a
didn't-
4 foot
I thought I
high.
heard you say vinyl, that's
I didn't say
I
vinyl.
think vinyl was non-maintenance, and it's not gonna
Yeah.
rot
I think
out.
that's what you'd want. I thought that's what we had discussed, I think I had that.
It's a non-maintenance.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Post rail vinyl. I mean, I'm fine with it on the plans, but if you guys want a detail, I don't care.
Whatever's convenient. I don't really have a strong feeling one way or the other, and just for consistency, just put it out there.
I just want something, 3-4 feet high so people not rolling into that thing,
Yeah, but that's,
That's
yeah.
why
that's all.
driving's gonna go in no matter what.
And it'll somewhat disguise it, you know what I mean?
Right.
And just makes it dresses up that corner where that thing's kind of ugly.
So I'm striking this as a condition because it's shown on
Yeah,
the plan.
shown on the
Yeah,
plans. Yep, let's
exactly,
get
that's
rid
what I
of
was
that.
gonna suggest.
Good enough.
So 17 has to do with the sub-base gravel under the common driveway.
All right, so Dave, you found it's 18 we've done?
It wasn't quite as straightforward as that. I found that, so I sampled 4 senior housing development projects, which I have in the memo, which you have, the board has, and the applicant has. Spruce Hill Senior, that's the current Susie project, as we commonly refer to it. Oakwood Village, which was done in the 2000s. Autumn Woods, done in the mid-2000s. And Maple Brook, done in the late to mid-2000s. Now, Spruce Hill has a specific detail showing the proposed street cross-section on that one. That showed the full requirement of the current subdivision bylaw with the 18-inch sub-base. However, the other ones, the record is incomplete. The further back you go, the records are kind of what they are. So I couldn't find a cross-section for the street for the other 3.
We all good with 18?
Yeah.
However,
That's something you're good with?
however, I just made a note, though, in the memo, that the planning board has been exploring this as an item to change on its regulations. We've done outreach to Quinn. Quinn has indicated that the town's requirement is excessive and it's not commonly seen in other municipalities. They provided some examples, and the examples that they provided, and once again, we'll leave it to the board. This is information you asked for the research.
Yep.
I did the research, but I went a little bit further because it was on the planning board's radar. What Quinn found from the several samples that it provided was that the typical foundation or base is 12-inch gravel, followed by a binder course of between 2.5 to 3 inches, and finished with a top or wearing course of between 1 and 1/2 inches for a total depth of 16 inches. So I just put that out for the board's consideration. Whether you,
Now, when they reference several communities, is that private driveways or public
no, it's
streets?
roads.
Public roads.
Roads. It is. It was for roads, yep. So, for the board's consideration.
12 inches is, like I said, I got no problem with it. We've talked about it, but I just want to be consistent with what we made other guys do in towns as well.
Well, in the case of
Yeah.
Susie, he didn't specifically ask for a waiver.
He
We
just
don't
put the
know how
18 in
that
because
would-
he's always done 18 on all the other roads.
But
All
actually
the roads he's
24 is
built.
the requirement.
And that's,
24 is the requirement.
Well, 18 to 24 is
18
fine.
to,
It's
ends up
18, there's
24.
a 6-inch layer and an 18-inch layer required.
Yes, it's first 18, then 6, and then
And
the
then
binder, then the
to the
top.
top. and
So the
other
whole thing
requirements.
is like 27 inches.
Yeah.
Wes, could you
So-
put up 14, sheet 14? Because that's where it's shown.
So what I would suggest is that we keep the waiver so that it's a 12-inch base, but that they build up the roadway the way Dave just explained it, so that it ended up being 16 inches.
You can see it's near the top.
Yep.
Yeah. that's
Because
it.
we're gonna, if it's an 18-inch base, then they still have to build on top of the base.
Okay.
Yeah, we're talking about the sub-base gravel. We're not, that regulation strictly just references the processed gravel you put underneath
Correct,
your top finished layers.
correct.
I thought the subdivision regulation was 18 to 24 for the sub-base.
It is, yes.
It's not 18 to 24, it is 24. It's 18 at one level, a 6-inch different type of,
Right.
Different
It
material.
was
Different
finer
material.
gravel.
and
That
then,
was, so the lot
18 to
size
process.
then the 2-inch and then 1-inch.
That's
And
exactly right.
Dave's memo said that Quinn said that one layer of 12 inches of one type of material is typically used in some other towns,
That's
right?
what it's found, yeah.
Right.
It's actually technically not one level. What they'll do is they'll put down some, they'll compact it,
Right.
and
They
then
put it
go
as
again.
listed.
Okay, so-
Put it in national
Okay,
standard.
so it is consistent with what Wes has shown on
Yes,
page
now-
14 of the plans, correct?
Yes.
the 12 inches total, and they're showing it as 2 6
Well,
inches.
it's only
12 inches
12
total
inches for the base.
of sub-base gravel process, not finished.
And now the pavement that they're recommending is a little more. And that's where.
The pavement, Jim, would be on top of the 12
Right,
inches.
and
Right.
this is, yeah, and
Yeah.
there's a trade-off. You get a little
Right.
more pavement and less gravel.
A little
And it's-
thicker courses of paving with the 12 inches of sub-base.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honestly,
I'm not-
on all my private industrial, commercial property I do, I only put 12 inches down, I never do any more.
Right.
Well, like we talked about, Rutland is a wet town, but I don't think that's gonna be an issue on that hill.
Yeah.
And we discussed this, I'm indifferent, I'll leave it up to, the rest of you guys, if anybody has a concern, to hold it to what we did, what Susie did, but Susie didn't ask for a waiver, he just did it that way, because that's the way he's built all his roads in town. So he just put 18 in, because that's what he does.
And
Well,
the-
it would
the
require.
applicant would prefer to have it be so that it's a 12-inch base.
Yeah, yes, they're requesting 12, they put on their plans, that's what they want, their
So
waiver.
so that we comply with the requirement that we request waivers
Yeah.
for sections that fall outside HPDD, and this is definitely one of them.
So, it's up, what do you guys wanna do?
Like I said,
Anybody-
there's only one
You
wet
guys
spot
good
up
with
on
12, or
top
you
of
wanna
the
do
hill.
more?
I just have one comment.
Yeah, please.
You've got a local builder who met the specification, and now we're gonna have, we're gonna potentially grant a waiver that I think we theoretically are putting, well, you're not, because his is built out, but he's at a competitive disadvantage by doing what he did, meeting the specification. So I just think politically it's dangerous, but I mean, it's your decision.
Yeah.
I think it should be consistent with what, and I know you folks aren't gonna wanna hear this because it's not what you want, but I just think it should be consistent with what we most recently
Well,
done.
if I could, but the board realizes that it's excessive, and the board has specifically sought research on it to provide for an alternative. The research has been done, and that, based upon the unquestioned expertise of Quinn, this is what they've come back as
Yeah.
recommendations from their vast experience, and most municipalities don't have the 24-inch sub-base. There's 18 plus the 6 of gravel above. So, once again,
No, Dave, I mean, Mike, you bring up a good point. Consistency is always a good process and plan. However, they requested a waiver and Susie didn't.
Right.
I mean, when you put your sub-plans in, you can request waivers and variances along a lot of little things. Other people could submit the same project and not request anything.
You don't have to
Okay.
convince me.
No, I'm just stating on that basis,
Yeah.
I think there is latitude for this board not to be different, and, I'm okay with it personally, with the 12 inches, but I just take a vote. I don't know if we wanna just vote on this, or everybody express their opinion here and just move on. Because, we've talked about it for 4 months, and we gotta make that decision right now,
Yep, I agree.
so.
But from what I understand what that Dave was saying, excuse me for interrupting, but, they're looking at possibly changing
yeah,
the regulation based on this information, right? Yeah,
But that could be 10 years, it could be 20 years, it
Right.
could be never.
right. But I would not be opposed to accepting the 12 inches based on,
Is there any densification criteria?
As they lay it down, usually like 3-4 inch lifts, and then they roll it, they pack it, and then you just keep doing lifts like that, So, it's gonna get compacted as they do it. Processed gravel, you put a little water in that thing, it sets up like concrete anyways.
Yeah.
And that's the purpose of it. So, again, 12 inches is what we do,
It's not a town road.
it's not a town
It's
road.
gonna
we
be
won't own it.
HOA taking care of it,
Yeah.
and town.
And honestly, from that perspective, okay, it's not a town road, but you know what? We're not hurting these people. They're not gonna be putting a new road in every 5 years because
Right.
we put 12 inches down instead of 18. Okay, let's be honest here, all right? Water does the damage, okay? And around your drains, stuff like that, that's where you get your problems and stuff. And sometimes something doesn't get compacted, there's a big rock, and then you get that little bump. But again, it's gotta be their responsibility, but I don't think we're causing them serious financial hardship down the back end here, if this is only a 12-inch road, because again, everybody else builds for themselves, they put 12 inches, on their own commercial properties. I would never do any more than that. Anyways, yes, Jim?
I'd like to propose just a minor modification to what's shown on Wes's plan, and go back to the wording in Dave's memo, which says a 12-inch gravel foundation or base followed by a binder course of 2.5 to 3 inches, finished with a top wearing course of 1 to 1.5 inches for a total of 16 inches depth. So it just adds, it adds that extra inch that you were talking about by making the more robust, a slightly more robust paving requirement. So this is what Quinn came back,
Follow their lead. You guys go with that?
follow their lead.
I'll work with it.
Dick, you good?
Awesome, let's go.
Folks,
Easy.
you good?
Yes, I am.
Dave, you understand it? We're gonna word it the way Quinn worded it. 12 inches with the 3.5, with the 2.5 to 3 and the 1 and
So grant the
1.
waiver with the condition that we comply with,
Yeah,
with.
yeah, just put it as a condition, and Wes doesn't have to change the drawings, and
Exactly.
we just keep on rolling there, right? One sentence fixes
He's
this thing.
changing notes, slightly changing the notes on the drawing.
Yes.
Yeah, just,
All right, so 3 layers, 12,
Yeah.
2.5 to 3, 1 to 1.5. Okay.
yeah, excellent. Beautiful. Excellent work, everybody, way to keep moving here.
Stick with the plan.
All right,
Okay, so,
so we'll amend that, and keep it, okay? All right, Pete?
next item has to do with 18, the dumpster at the community center. I believe this is a waiver so that we don't have to have the dumpster.
We're not, yeah, there's no proposed dumpster.
I think you agreed to.
Yeah, so when we discussed the dumpster, you guys said you're gonna go with those little two-wheel totes,
Right.
okay? But if there was a need for a dumpster, you'd put it in one of the parking spaces, and we were okay with that. So this is really trying to protect you guys more than anything,
Okay,
that if you ever did have to have a dumpster there, it's okay to put it in one of the parking spaces.
We don't want.
Now, I really don't care if we have it in there or not personally, but I was just trying to record the conversation so,
absolutely.
for your sake, so that you didn't have to put a pad in and all this other baloney. Because there's really not a lot of room there to put a pad for a dumpster or an encased area. It's parking, and then you have the site corner right there,
Gonna look
you
ugly.
know? And it's
It's
really
gonna
tight,
be
Like,
because they maxed out the parking there. We took the island out, you know, and there's just no room there, so they're just gonna have to put it in a parking space, and people are gonna have to deal with it. I mean, not the way I want it, but you know what? That's the way it's gonna be. And like you said, I don't think it's ever gonna come to fruition, but it ever did, that's what it is.
Yeah.
All right?
Okay, all right, that's
So we're-
fine.
We're keeping this as a condition to give you folks flexibility, in case you need it, you have it.
But other than
Okay.
that, we're all in agreement with what you're
So
doing.
somebody could, if they had an event, they could have a
Sure,
dumpster. brought
exactly.
in,
And
and then
you got the right to put in the thing, and if it's temporary or permanent, whatever you do.
Correct, that's what I mean.
Right.
They could
Yep.
have it in for a weekend, clean,
Yep.
and it's gone.
And off you go. Never shindig, and away you go. All right, second page.
Next item was the existing flagpole will be relocated to the community center.
I think that's on the plans, correct?
It's
It
on the
is.
plan.
I think it
Okay.
is, so.
Dick, do you need that in the order of conditions, or are you okay with on the plan? Strike that one, take out 19, it's on the plans,
Just tell me how we're gonna do it.
okay? You better call him when you do that. It's the only thing I can ask you, okay?
It's gonna be interesting to see how you push that up the hill.
Number 20 has to do with the deed restriction for the senior.
So I'm not really all that up on that. I know that's something you guys have been talking about, you and Dave, so I just wanted to throw that on there so you guys got the language
I
right the
think
way you
we're all
want it.
set. This is, once again, this is an obligation that needs to be done. It's nothing that ought to be a showstopper.
not gonna hold nothing up,
for the purpose of writing a decision. So you had proposed language for the deed restrictions, you just wanna tell me what that was
Yeah.
again?
I think if you look at,
Honestly, do we need to discuss what it is?
I'm-
Or
I'm
do you
ju-
need it for this
I can get it
decision?
from Peter offline.
All right, and then, I don't know if you need to have town council look at it, but quite honestly,
that's fine.
it's kind of out of our purview, to be honest with you. I mean, I want to just make sure the town's protected, so I put it on this list, but I don't need to know.
Okay,
to be honest
we'll
with
get
you.
the
If town
exact-
council and Dave's good with it,
We just briefly discuss what the deed is,
Sure.
just very briefly.
so your bylaw, section 48 that deals with senior housing projects, has a specific requirement that the occupants be 55 or older. If there's one occupant that needs a caregiver, the occupant has to be 55 years or older. And all the requirement is that the applicant work with town council to put a restriction in deeds so that as conveyances take place, people can see in the deeds that it's a age-restricted residence. You can't just sell it to a 20-year-old or a 30-year-old. You have to be 55 or older. So it can be enforced by not only the people that live within the project, but it could be enforced by the town if they had to.
Excellent.
so again, it's,
In the way Quinn's letter referred to it, they just referred to it as section 48.
but it's of the,
It's 48K, that's the specific reference.
and it's not part of the Rutland Heights thing, it's part of the 55 and over bylaws.
It's part of
which
the,
is
it's part of,
basically,
it's part of the
you know,
senior housing bylaw
Yeah,
provision.
So handicap can also get in here or not?
over
Or do you
55.
have to be
So
55?
You have to be
You gotta be over
over 55.
55.
You have to be over 55.
All right.
And they limit the over 55, under 55 to 3 months, correct? Is that how the, so you can have a grandchild visit or something like that?
I believe so, yes,
For the summer.
unless it's a caregiver.
You can say that one more time?
You can have a grandchild visit for the summer if you want, as long as it's under 3 months.
Oh, okay. The child doesn't have to be under 3 years. Who the hell wants a 3-month-old?
No, Dave, we gotta look at putting that in a lot of the regular residences.
If you knew me, I have a lot of kids that.
Yeah, you know, hey, wait a minute, you guys, your time's up, kids go home.
I got 12 of them, that'd be one a year.
All right, so you guys will work that out, we'll keep that in there, but you guys know what you gotta do there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay?
good.
Next item has to do with the fencing or the vegetated buffer in sections between the back of the units, back of the duplexes. And I believe Wes is showing,
I added more
um,
landscaping.
it's not gonna be fencing, it's gonna be.
Exactly, I was just gonna say that, and again, I just going, when I was going through all my notes, I was just throwing in the kitchen sink in
It's
here.
gonna be natural.
I thought it was just
natural
vegetated, like trees and
buffer.
shrubs and things like that,
Exactly.
with openings, so people can commune and get together, but you got a little privacy there, if you haven't, you know.
So I showed some more trees and
It's a
shrubs between the
separation.
units.
Yep. And those will fill in and grow out, so.
So,
You guys, board good with that plan,
Yep.
and we can strike this from this?
Yep.
yeah,
Jen, you good with that?
Yeah, so is fencing prohibited, or just, we're not just gonna mention it
I wouldn't
at
say
all?
it's prohibited, but we're not gonna require it.
It's not preferred.
So if you have a
It's not
dog, you
preferred
can't-
by
you
the,
can't
I'm
fence
sure
them
you
in.
guys, that's not what you're looking for, Ron, right? Is to put fencing in the back of the yards?
I'm not looking to put fencing, but I understand what he's saying is, if you have a pet,
Yeah.
you can put up your own little fencing. That's with the association.
I would just, exactly, I think that's out of our purview, just let the association either dictate or not dictate that.
because then it becomes a question of what's considered
Your
common
space.
area versus what's considered,
Private property type, like space.
the proper term is, I just added.
But ultimately, it's really between the neighborhood
That's a
and
condo
the neighbors.
association. Condo association.
Condo association, the HOA.
It's an exclusive use.
There
area.
it is.
So
It is.
there's common areas, and then there's exclusive use. So we can work the bylaws so that if a unit owner wants to put a certain type of fence up on their unit in their exclusive use area, they can get permission or approval from the trustees, and up it goes, versus putting fencing, between units on common land.
And I'm just gonna be honest with this, but if the board or Mike or Dave has any other opinions on this, as far as all those HOA association rules and regulations, I didn't really feel that that's something we should discuss. Because it's really something that they, it kind of evolves as part of that community, and I didn't want to restrict or dictate to them. I don't think it really affects the town in any way. It's really a marketing issue. I mean, these things are so prevalent around here.
Sales.
Everybody knows kind of, there's a whole, we're not the first one doing this. We're not creating cancer here, or, carrying cancer here. This is something that's common, that every lawyer knows what to put in these things. These home associations are very
Exactly. It's
common.
also, well, when we've done these in the past, the homeowners association agreement was not subject to the board's approval per se. What was subject was the 55 plus, that's the age restriction.
Yeah.
So that age restriction recycles its way into the master deed and the homeowners association.
But all that other stuff, they can do what they want in their property.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so, so Dave, anyways, back to 21, we'll remove the fencing, we're just gonna remove 21 altogether, it's on the plans, we're good with that?
Yep.
All right?
Twenty-two, I believe.
22.
I'm not sure,
I don't think that's a proper.
22,
it has to do with like propane or oil being used on site for the units.
so, yeah, so, again, you're just gonna do heat pumps here, right? You're not putting any propane tanks in? I mean, I don't really care if we don't have this. I was just stating it, putting it out there. Do we care if they add that or do something different? I mean, the community center might be different.
It's up to them, but,
Again, is that just an HOA thing and just forget about it?
Association.
Right? Pete, Jim?
Well, let's say somebody or the association wants to put up a backup generator that's propane fired.
Yeah.
And it makes sense to do it,
Sure.
but we have in
All
here,
right, rip it out.
they can't do it.
I'm fine, again.
I'm concerned about limiting.
Yeah, I hate limiting people's ability to do what they want with their
It
property,
makes,
personally.
yeah.
We all good with taking that out? Anybody got an issue with that?
Yeah, not me.
So it's been
All right.
struck.
So 22 is out.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is better dealt with within
Yeah.
the homeowners
Yeah, sure,
association.
yeah.
Because they're the ones that live.
23,
Proper street signage, I think
I'm trying to get to the plan for it.
I think it's on the plan.
It is
Per-
now, yeah. We
per
updated
Quinn's
plans.
request there, they had all that.
Correct. Yep, all the signs have
And
been,
I know you had that question about those stop signs on that,
yep.
that hard angle there, you know, those acute
Yeah, so
angles.
I talked to Sam from TEC after the last meeting, and he had sketched up kind of what he does on angles like this, and so they end up putting the angler stop bars all the way out to the edge of pavement, and then the stop sign would be on their turn.
Yeah. Because I mean, the only other thing we could do there, guys, is they put these little islands, you know, like when you turn in off of Main Street onto Glenwood Road, they have the little island there, so it keeps people over to their right side. But I gotta be honest with you, I come out of Glenwood Road all the time, people come down the wrong damn side of that thing.
Yeah.
And it makes it more dangerous, because now you only got one little chute. I mean, well, if you leave it open, I got room to wiggle and get out of the guy's way. This way you can't get out of there.
Yeah.
So I'm not in big favor of those, and I don't think it's gonna be a major problem, because speed's not an issue here. No one's gonna be coming, taking that hard corner hard, so I'm fine the way Wes has got this, and I got no issues with it. Anybody else?
No.
Any other comments?
No.
You guys good? We're good?
Yeah.
So this has been struck.
So take that off.
Yeah.
As per the plan, we're good.
Laurel, you remember we talked some time ago about having some input in street names?
Yes.
I'd like to continue that discussion sometime.
Okay, so do you wanna just put something in there, that the
No,
REIC,
I don't think it's necessary.
you're just gonna deal with it, okay? Yep, perfect.
It's just the historical aspect of the site. I think it might be nice to be able to, have some input into some of the.
You guys amenable to that, yeah?
Yeah.
Good, beautiful, that's nice,
So wait
that's a
sec,
great
so
idea.
you won't have a different notion than the names on the plan?
No, I would envision perhaps the names of the plan changing.
Then I just want to have some exception regarding per plan submitted, with the exception of street naming.
Okay.
I mean, or is that so
Or
small?
can you just take the street names off?
Can I label
For that?
something? So-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, with the exception of street naming.
Yeah, well, yeah, and we've seen street names change so many times. After the
Right.
plans have been approved, it doesn't,
I hate to do it because, if you say it's per plan submitted, that's kind of
Yeah,
a
well-
significant guardrail. If this is something that gets changed, then
How do you word that?
I would just say accept that
Peter?
street names may be subject to future renaming,
Is that good?
unless Peter has something better, because
I don't even think we should mention it. to be honest.
yeah, because usually street names have to be approved by
I'm fine with
the
that,
fire
too.
department
As long
anyways,
as you're
right?
comfortable
So,
with that.
I think we should just leave it at, I think Wes already shows the stuff on the plan, so I don't think we should.
Are the street names actually on the plan?
They're on the plan,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm fine with just letting Mike work with the applicant and just
And they can change it.
working it out.
it has to be approved by the fire department anyways, right, for the 911
Yeah,
system,
that's,
so.
that won't be a problem.
Yeah, so-
No, not that.
All right, fine, we'll
Well,
just,
there's 4 roadways in there, and they all have Sully in there somehow. We'll just
Main
leave it
Sully,
at that.
West Sully.
Oh, come on.
So the names that we chose were related to the fact that it was a veterans hospital, and these were all character traits of veterans.
What are they, Wes? Could you,
Integrity, what was it?
so small, I can't read it.
Yeah, I know.
Trying to get-
And in fact, we thought of you when we were picking them. We thought that it would kind of really channel the idea of the historical nature of the site and be something to, kind of
Harken back
celebrate.
to, yeah.
Okay, well, we won't get hung up on it. We'll figure it out.
Fidelity, integrity, and tenacity.
Maybe what we can do is we can put something in there that says if the street signage, any street signage change will be submitted to the board for approval. Something to
There you
that
go.
effect.
That was easy.
Yeah, we didn't think we should, name it particular mental illnesses or anything.
So we will,
I tell you what, it might go up real fast though, might be a good marketing angle. I'll tell you, there's a whole lot of them out there.
we can work it that way so that if for some reason if it's integrity way on this plan and they decide later on that they want it to be something other than that, we can just submit something to the board to say, yeah, it's fine.
It's just a quick memo kind of
Yeah,
thing. I don't think you have to come in
Yeah.
and make a
without-
big brouhaha
without
or
getting
anything
carried
about it,
away.
just,
Public
and,
record.
yeah, and do you wanna just keep it between you and the RDIC board and it stays out of our purview?
It's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
It's not a big deal.
That way you can just deal with Mike and it's between you guys and that's, that memo goes to
That's
RDIC board
Yep.
for approval.
That's fine.
All right?
Yeah.
Done. So the street signs, you
I
got
got
that?
it, yeah. So
Beautiful.
any change to the street names
Yep.
to be reviewed by the RDIC board.
Perfect. Okay. We'll hold off on the waivers, wanna jump?
24 waivers, we'll hold that till the end. I don't know if the lighting detail has been.
I think you did
I
that,
think
right,
it is
Wes?
on the plan.
It was like
You
less
got
than
those-
12 feet or
Was
something.
it every other?
Did you do a detail of the height of it, like a?
Did add that detail. Well, I can point out actually while we're here too is granite curb detail. I know that was, we
Okay,
talked
yeah,
about that
yeah.
before.
Beautiful.
Granite curb inlet.
Okay.
And I also, here's the light base detail. And on there, I put on a note, maximum light pole height is 12 feet, all street lights to be dark sky compliant.
Okay, yeah,
Good.
Yep.
See, our intent of those lights are just for the sidewalks, and
Yeah.
it's not the light in the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
I got no issue with that detail.
No, good.
No.
So that's
Take
been
it,
struck.
take it right off, they're showing on the plan, the detail's there, beautiful.
Yeah.
Great job,
And
Wes,
the
thank you.
same with the curbing in the catch basins.
Which is
Yep.
what number, Peter?
The curbing shall be type 3 curb, that's 26. 27 is at catch basins, shall be concrete.
And that's all in the plans, right?
Granite.
You got all that?
We strike 26 and 27.
I think you had that on your plans, the type 3 curbing. I don't think you
I
had to
had the
change
type
that.
3 curbing on.
Yeah, you had that.
Yep.
So we can take 26 off, okay? Because you showed that on your last set, right? You did?
Yes.
You had the sidewalk up right up to the type 3 curb, and that was legit. Okay. We can close that loop. See you later. 27, curbing at the catch base shall be concrete granite. We get the granite detail there.
And
You had
that's just on the,
with the type 3 curbing.
yeah.
So that it butts right up to it, nice and smooth, right?
So that's
And
great.
then, yeah, so we can add something to this one, that granite curbing is not required when the grates are in the driveways.
Correct.
There'll just be asphalt around that, right, Wes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right? Okay?
Say that again, so we're keeping 27, adding language to it?
Yeah, adding 27, so 27, it's good, remove shall be concrete, it's gonna be, shall be granite, okay? As per detail.
Yeah.
All right, so he's got that in there. And then
Concrete.
at the end, so, and you also show the concrete, you know where your handicap ramp comes down?
Yep.
You've got a little strip of concrete there in the ground flush to the asphalt, right?
Yep, right here, yep.
Yeah, so you got that right there. You show that. What was that one? That's the driveway, right?
The driveway entrance.
Yeah, I'm talking the handicap ramp.
Well, this shows the ramps here. coming
Oh,
down
okay, yeah,
Into the driveways.
okay. And then, so at the end of that 27, we're just gonna, add that granite curbing is not required when catch basins are in
The driveway.
driveways, in front of driveways. Okay, because then you want the smooth transition. All right, so 27 stays with that amendment.
So I think 28, dealing with the speed, I think we discourage the speed bumps.
Correct, we don't want the humps. I believe Rodney came up with the rumble strips, the little cuts in the road, right?
Yep.
And that's what I thought I remembered, that's why I put this down here.
Yeah,
Is
that's,
that shown on the drawings, Wes?
I did not, so, this is something I need some more information from Sam,
Alright.
from the.
So can we just put it as an order condition, install speed bumps as per?
Yeah, it's all rumble strips per
Rumble strips.
recommendation
Yeah.
of,
and if we can get it so that the traffic consultant can.
Per traffic consultant?
No, what I'm saying is if Wes can get the information from Sam before the next meeting and put it on the plan, we won't have it as a
Correct,
condition.
correct.
Got it.
If
I like
he,
that.
if we can't get that information, then we'll put it in as a condition.
Okay.
Beautiful.
How deep are rumble strip cuts?
I don't think they're more than an inch.
Yeah, I think it's
I
like
don't
3/4 of a
even-
cut, I think
I
that'll
don't
do.
even think
it's that
I think it's
deep.
half inch.
I was gonna say half inch to 3 inch, 3/8, not much.
It's just a little wider, you know, so the tire drops into them. But it's not a deep cut, but it's about an inch and a half or so,
Noise.
you know.
It's noise.
Yeah, exactly, just to make the noise.
It's like the whistle.
29, so I think we're all set here, right? This was kind of a,
So I think we already show the buffers and
you
the.
got the
natural-
vegetation buffers and around the other sides, I mean, board, everybody good? Mike, you guys good with what they
Yeah.
showed? Right, all right, so take that off, right? 29's
29
good?
strike.
29's good, get rid of that.
30 is one of the waivers, so we'll hold off on that.
Yeah,
31, I think, that's gonna be a part of the nippities, right?
What's the,
Erosion control at the stormwater discharge
that's the
No,
pipe goes
that's,
down the pond
that's
there.
completely different, that's a Conservation Commission.
requirement.
So it came up in Quinn's, but we also talked about with the Conservation Commission, so, this is one that,
It's a little dicey.
yes, because
It's a slippery hill, and it's a slippery.
Oh, yeah.
because this is where I think a lot of the erosion that's being caused here is nothing to do with the basin on the property that Harbor Classics purchasing. So, the upper pond, there's a 36-inch pipe that runs from this pond to this pond, and there's a 12-inch pipe that runs from this pond to the pond here. And so there was a question about erosion here. And to be honest with you, I'm not really worried about the erosion cost from our 12-inch pipe, but the flow coming out of it's not that.
Is that 12-inch new that you're putting in?
No, it's existing.
That's existing, right?
So what happens is, the way the drainage works for this front portion, there's a small increase in the water that goes to this pipe. But it's a 12-inch pipe, I think it's like 5.
12 inches is
CFS.
enough, right, to handle the
It's
additional load?
enough, because what happens is the water backs up on the property of the applicant. So it only comes up like another inch.
But to
Within
me,
it, but it handles it within the site of the applicant. And so the 12-inch pipe becomes the restricting factor when we've got detention basins. It's a different animal, because it's really a detention basin that was constructed there. So the 12-inch pipe is not sized to handle all the water, because it's meant to back up the water when they built that, the way they built this. If it was big enough, it'd be like a 24-inch
when I
pipe.
mowed that, that's the steepest part right there in that corner, so
Oh yeah,
whatever.
it's very steep. So what we're looking at, it's not here that we are required to kind of maintain the growth, so they can get in here and clean this, because it's gonna be their property.
Yeah.
That's part of the O&M plan. That's gonna be under their O&M plan. It's this right here that is the concern, is the erosion at that.
And that pipe extends all that way?
It comes all, there's a head wall here and the head wall here.
I think all up there.
And there's a head wall here at the mouth of the wetlands before it goes
Correct.
into the pond. And really, like I said, there's a 36-inch pipe that connects the two of them. That's really where the velocity comes out of that.
Yeah.
The 12-inch pipe is not a lot of velocity.
That's what a beaver's love to block it up, right there.
But the steepness and whatever water's coming out though, I think you're gonna have might have a situation of erosion coming out of there. It'll scar that surface down fairly easy,
So, but I think,
up in a corner, but go up. Keep
On the other
going
side
up.
of the road?
No, the pond that you got,
here,
keep going up,
oh, here.
right there.
Yeah,
And
we show stone there. We show
Yeah,
riprap there.
Rip-rap to slow it down,
Correct. And it's
but
that's a 12-inch pipe going out of there,
I
and it's
know.
not a lot of water coming out of that basin. And so we do show the necessary stone, so we provided the calculations for that.
so how much of the drainage, where does it start? I'm thinking, part of it,
So the drainage was really, here's the high point through here. So really what goes to
is
this
right there.
is
Yeah.
through here. So some of it goes to this basin, which would be like in this area here, and then the rest of it goes to the existing basin. There was a fair amount of water that goes to the existing basin now.
Yeah.
And so that's when we
That whole
analyzed
hill
it.
was going down there now anyways.
Right.
Correct.
You're just directing it a different way.
And so the thought is, while they're doing the work out here, if they could work with the town to maybe put some stone down here to kind of help out an issue that exists. And that's really what the question was gonna
But
be.
again, it's outside your lot line, it's outside.
It's
your-
outside outside
Yeah.
the property, but if they're doing the work out there, something maybe they can work with the DPW on trying to maybe put some stone down there if they have the machinery. But I don't know if it's gonna be that as easy as, just try to get down in there without making a mess might be,
If we have a dry season and I get,
well, and that's the thing, right?
if I
If we
get
have
done
another dry
brush hogging
summer.
early, I might come up there and try mooring around that place.
What are you doing today, tomorrow, Dick?
No.
You're gonna get much drier than we got right
I
now.
know, no, no, no.
I'll meet you up there, 'cause we're
This
doing
is-
flow
this is-
tests, so.
This'll be in the fall. I don't like to mess with this time of year. But,
But that's really what the condition was looking for, is
Yeah.
to see if there was something that could be done there. And it's really to see if the applicant can work with the town and the DPW, I guess, because
Is that a conservation?
they know about it, and
Yeah.
But it
they're,
wasn't a condition from them.
well, I don't think it was a condition.
So I don't understand why it should be a condition here either. It's off your site.
Well, you were just looking to kind of help the problem, right?
Because,
Well,
the reason it came up on Quinn's review is there was a small increase in the flow coming through this pipe into that point right there. But really, like I said, I'm not as concerned about our pipe, it's more 36-inch pipe that's gonna cause more erosion than our pipe. It's just trying to get down in there is the
Does
biggest thing.
DPW maintain that, Dick? Did they do anything with
yeah,
that?
yeah,
They do.
But that's what I'm saying, if they're gonna have,
when it
the
backs
amount of
up.
stone they're gonna be
When it
bringing
backs
in.
up, the
Yeah.
beavers back it up, they have
Yeah.
to
Go in there,
open up
break
the
it out.
line.
Yeah,
So it's something that maybe we can have a conversation with Joe Buckley and see if there's something we can work with him to, when he's gonna clean out that area, maybe they can get down there and put some stone in, because there's gonna be, they're gonna have a lot of stone on the project for other things. So while they're doing it, if they're doing
Yeah,
something
little-
else with
little
the
spoonful
riprap,
there ain't gonna-
exactly, bring
ain't
some
gonna
stone
kill
down on the
nobody.
bottom.
Yeah, just addresses Quinn's concern, and
Correct.
really it saves you a bacon for a short amount of work, so.
That's what we're looking
You
at.
don't want
is-
anybody saying you caused this problem, you didn't do
and
anything.
in the
Correct.
bottom detention pond, you have it heading off, you've got two outlets,
This one here.
has two, but that one there doesn't, I thought you had one that's going towards the pond,
No,
and we're just going into there.
just here.
Okay.
The overflow spillway it's going here to that,
Yeah.
it's that isolated wetland.
So if I could just suggest something for 31, that we kind of reword this to, the applicant will work with the DPW to mediate the increased flow of the 12-inch outlet going into the pond area. And at that point, you just let these guys work it out
Yeah.
with the DPW in the field. I mean, I don't want to tell you what to do, I don't want to tell you how and when to do it. If Joe's okay with it, and he says, I got it, he's gonna deal with it, then he
Yeah.
deals with it.
And I think it's more of a coordination thing, if
But I think it
They do
addresses
clean
it
it
from
up,
our
yeah.
perspective,
Maybe
the
we should
town
say
addresses
mediate the
it.
existing condition. So that takes some of the heat off them, that they're
Yeah.
not getting blamed for the increase.
I mean, Quinn references that they're adding flow, so we need to respond to that,
Yeah.
that we're managing it.
Yeah.
And, but yet I wanna keep it kinda loose, that these guys can just deal with it out in the field. This is not a major problem here, it's just something that, these guys wanna do something, and I think it's in your best interest to do something, so that you can, if there is a problem in 3 years from now, hey, this is what the plan and order conditions said. We had a little rip-off, we talked to Joe, we did this, we had the rip-rap, and that was it. So no one can come back on us or the applicant and say, hey, you wrecked something, you own us a new pond. I don't wanna see that open up and somebody get that can of worms, well, let that genie out of the bottle.
Correct.
So, it just kinda closes the loop on that, because Quinn's got it in there as a comment.
Yep.
And I just think we gotta address it.
So it's gonna be left as a generalized condition.
Generalized condition that the applicant will work with the town DPW to mediate, the additional flow to 12-inch line at the pond. Okay, at the proper time. Because to Dick's point, you can't just go in there whenever you want,
Yeah.
You're gonna do more damage to all that vegetation when you go in there.
I've got it as a very general, okay.
Yeah.
Won't that
And these guys can
help
work
it
it.
anyway, with that upper retention pond?
Yeah,
Yeah,
It's not gonna be asking for anything crazy, it's just,
I'm thinking it's,
all right.
Actually, she brought out a point that with that upper basin, that's actually gonna help
yeah.
the flow
We
more than it
still,
does right now.
we are showing a small increase to that one pipe. So when we looked at analyzing the drainage, we looked at the drainage as being what goes to the pond in its totality. The Rutland
So
Heights.
there's more surface flow going to that location than
That-
there used to be, Wes?
That one small location.
Really?
Yes. Yeah, because we're changing the,
Because you're cutting the hill?
not area wise, we're changing grass to, currently it's grass. And now we're changing it to pavement and buildings, right?
Right.
Okay,
Yeah,
gotcha,
no,
okay, yeah.
And the roof.
Impervious area.
Yeah,
Right.
Impervious,
okay.
So maybe
the
more
driveways.
flow that's mitigated over time?
Yes.
You're collecting more water off the driveways,
Right,
and that's
but it
getting
takes
attention.
longer to get through because
Yeah,
you're
rather than
collecting
just
it
going
in
to the
one
ground,
spot.
the open
Small
pit
increase in
ground.
the peak rate
Gotcha.
to that one pipe,
Yeah,
but to the pond, we have a decrease.
Yes,
Right.
okay.
And that's why,
Yeah, I understood.
yeah, so I think.
and that's why they're concerned about that one, that one point source there.
The nice thing, if he works at the DPW, you know, it kinda gives us a little buffer with
Yep,
DCR and any of those guys, you know, no, that's why.
What's the W and BA?
Yeah, that's what I wrote, question mark. W and BA?
World Bowling Association or?
Well, I don't have the thing in front of me, so what's
I
the,
think
Oh,
maybe
number
it's,
32.
maybe what they're referring to there is Whitman and Bingham Associates.
yeah, maybe.
Oh,
okay.
okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
All right. Is that who the DPW uses, is Whitman and Bingham?
that's us.
That's him.
Oh, that's you?
That's our,
Okay,
that's the
okay.
former company name. So when we
Alright.
started, the company's name was.
So I think this might have been like, you know, a lot of the, like, the water sewer, the fire department, bottom line, these guys have any comments, and, you know, we haven't gotten anything really back. I know there was some interim meetings with them, you know, informal meetings with those folks. But should we address this in our order of conditions, that we've got nothing
We talked about this last time. I don't think it's
worth
a
noting?
major issue because
Okay.
we solicited comments from those departments. We sent the comments out widely.
True.
To the select board,
Yeah.
to the various boards and commissions. The various parties were not overly troubled or
Concerned.
concerned by the nature of the
Good point,
project.
Dave, good
I
point.
think they had a handle on it in terms of the health didn't have any comments because the health acknowledged that it's public water and public source, so their comments were limited. The chief's comments were, it's gonna have to meet the building code in terms of construction and fire safety and all those things, so that's not a paramount concern at the site plan level. So they really didn't have,
No, good point, because, you know, I wasn't thinking from that perspective, that you know, we've got documentation, we sent it out to them, and we got no documentation back, so that's documentation.
Yeah, but I think it's important we put in that verbal communication, so it does sit there and say, whatever they did address it, and they came off with these verbal comments. So it doesn't look like,
Oh, the original verbal comments. on that
right,
informal
when he
meeting
sent it
does.
out, he said, well, they never really talked to me, but I did talk to the fire chief, and he said this, I did talk to the police chief, and he said this.
what I'll do is I'll
And we
have
did
a
have the
finding of
department.
fact that indicates that the submission application was distributed to the following groups.
Okay, because I think we ought to at least know that they did respond, but what they responded to was not really integral to what we were
Yeah,
doing.
Doug, I think last time we talked about taking care of that as a finding, acknowledge that there was communication out, and that there wasn't a lot that came in.
Yeah.
Did they give you any written response?
No, it didn't really
I
rise to the occasion.
I remember the meeting, you know, they're saying they didn't have any concerns, I just didn't know.
So you guys all go with that?
Yeah.
Right? Beautiful. So we'll you just do your magic on 32,
Got it.
all right?
31?
No, well, 31, we were just gonna have was that the applicant would work with the DPW to mitigate the increased flow of the 12-inch
I
line.
have that.
32, you're just gonna rework that, you know, for the whole department thing. You know, that's really all of the departments.
I don't think 31 is gonna be included. I think what they will include is a finding that indicates that, you know, the application was submitted to the different department heads and feedback did come back or didn't come back.
Yeah, right, so we'll strike 32, we'll make that as a finding.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes, that's fine.
but 31 was about the 12-inch pipe.
I have that, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Now, I just, in thought after this, one condition I just want to add to this is that this board gets to review that the order of conditions have been met, you know, prior to the final completion, you know, of occupancy, or the issuance of occupancy permits, okay? So that we can just make sure that there's a check and balance here. Anybody?
Yeah.
It's kind of what we were just talking about earlier tonight, but just something to have in there, just to make sure these things get checked off. And even if Mike just tells us, hey, they've met everything, you know, I'm not trying to make a big brouhaha of it.
No, but
I just want to make sure that we,
I like to look at the
as a
conditions.
board, you know, as a board, we stay in tune with the project. Mike, you guys keep us in tune?
Well, yeah, I mean, the other thing you consider too is, you know, boards may change. You may not be here, I may not be here, so it's important that that's in there.
And
Documented, yeah.
just to make sure there's some check and balance here, because there's no planning board or anything, you know, to
Right.
make sure this gets done. We are kind of technically the planning board, so.
So you're looking to have a hearing for that, or just communication?
I don't think we need a hearing, just communication.
Got it, okay.
Yeah. site visit like Concom would do or something like that, if that's what it takes. Just a informal conversation, but just some way that we, check and make sure this is all set.
Yeah.
Because, listen, we got this other issue coming up at the center of town now, that the ZBA's gotta deal with now, because nobody checked the order of conditions. And 20 years goes by, and now all of a sudden, this thing comes down the pike, and I gotta deal with this mess, because nobody checked on this thing, 20 years ago, and now, here we go.
One thing
Bang,
Sorry.
one thing
No, it's nobody's fault. No, there's actually a clause in that ZBA finding that they were gonna check that order of conditions, and they didn't. So the ZBA didn't do their thing either, so.
I think in this case, to assist this board, we will be maintaining Quinn's Engineering Services to be a
Okay.
reviewer at
Okay.
relevant times if they need to be on site to observe things or whatever things are necessary. So we'll keep Quinn as a reviewer for the duration of this project, who can.
Have them do that, deal with that then?
Or be the
I
conduit.
don't have to be this guy, I don't wanna do it.
No, they could be the conduit for it and provide their reports to the group.
Okay,
Whether you need to have a meeting, I'll leave that to the HPDD board, but at least you would get their correspondence.
so we'll
If they do
Quinn,
a memo,
and Quinn can actually make sure these order conditions are being met.
that's the goal.
Alright,
Yeah.
perfect.
Because we're gonna maintain their services, I think we agreed to that, at least for the duration of the project. So they'll be doing engineering, a review, a peer review, like in the
Yeah.
planning board world. After the permits are issued, we still have Quinn involved
Yeah,
to make sure certain things are
stuff is
met.
getting checked
Will
out.
they be scheduled inspections? The reason I'm saying that is it's not just gonna show up every other day or something.
Oh,
But no, I think,
I think it would have to be something that's coordinated
Yeah.
I'm just thinking
with-
of
between the
clock's
applicant,
ticking every time.
depending on the phase, and depending on what utilities they install, or what, it would depend on the stage of construction.
Yeah.
There are certain things that Quinn might have to verify, there are certain things that the building inspector can verify.
Yeah, and you're really talking civil issues, inspecting utilities, inspecting the roadway base,
Right.
and then finish, product on the roadways, and a final inspection, make sure everything, the grates are in right and all that stuff. So, those, just to that level, if you wanna kind of frame up some wording for what gets inspected, and obviously, it's only respectful to both parties to group it up and save the cost of Quinn's time and, get as many utilities in, but that's really dictated by you guys, right? How much you can give us to inspect at a
I
time.
think we would agree that if
I wanna
there's
make sure they're a
major,
requirement, that's all.
I think we would agree that if there are major benchmarks,
Yeah.
that's when you have the Quinn review. We don't want them out there every week to.
No, I don't want these guys just,
That's not-
retire and find a new boat off this guy.
Before you start phase two, have phase one verified and make sure everything.
But I mean, there's rough stages and there's finished stages. You want them to see the water lines and, get the feel of the sewer and the water's going in down deep at 6, 8 feet, whatever. And then the electrical's at 2 or 3 feet or whatever, and then, you get the sub base that we talked about and all the finished, just make sure the top coats are getting put on the way they're supposed to be.
That's right, so the
That's all,
benchmarks,
so-
we can coordinate a schedule for the
Yeah,
benchmarks, like we
yeah,
talked
just-
about. Yeah.
Okay?
And then, it doesn't take long for Quinn, when you call him for inspection, to get there, right? I mean, it's days, right? Or-
Well, I think we need to have a discussion with them about the scope of the project in general terms. Maybe, it might be more appropriate, maybe Wes and Carl communicated about the general, with the consent of you folks, of course.
The water department, sewer department's gonna do the majority of the inspections anyway.
That's true.
That's true too, yeah.
It's a
That's
lot
right.
of the
Good
civil
point, Ron.
side, it's a lot
Yeah.
of the civil things.
Good point.
But we'd be looking to get those inspection reports from water and sewer,
Sure.
fed back to this group.
Compiled to them and.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's really not within Quinn's purview, really just the roadway and,
Yeah.
quite honestly, the utilities, the electric utilities, the National Grid's gonna inspect it. I don't care what Quinn says, that's the way it's gonna be.
That's true.
That's a waste of their time
But
too.
the other reports, like the water department, we
Yeah.
can try to feed those reports back to this group, so you're updated
Yeah.
and informed.
Yeah.
So far.
So maybe just.
Roadway and drainage, I think is what.
Yeah, yeah, all right, is that good enough, fair enough, roadway and drainage,
Yeah.
right? And then
I think so.
just work, if you wanna just talk to Quinn, let these guys work out something that you're amenable to, they're amenable to, and if everybody's good, I mean, that's great for me, I got no problem with that.
Yeah, we don't have to.
We don't have to get in the middle of it, let them just deal with it. Yep, all right, fair enough.
Did we need to go back to waivers at all?
We do.
Actually,
We good?
before you do
Yeah.
that, I'm sorry to
Nope,
interrupt.
go ahead.
Quinn had some recommended conditions too. He had 6 of them.
What page you on, Will? The end?
Uh,
Yeah, the
This is
last two
June
pages,
2nd
yeah.
memo, the last 2 pages.
Yeah. Okay, so the second to last page. Number one's the deed restrictions, which we've covered, right?
That's correct.
Okay, check. Number 2, comment 27, HPDD board soil testing. So that was a waiver, right? that kind of just ties into the waiver.
That's one of the waivers that
Right.
we're requesting.
All right, so let's just kind of
We don't
shovel.
wanna do the soil testing within
Let's
60 days.
just slide by this one, let's move to number 3.
Yeah.
Then we can talk about that with the waiver.
It's actually not a waiver.
She's
The
not-
soil testing was not a waiver?
It's not specifically a waiver. It's part of the stormwater standards that DEP has. So it's a,
So let's talk about it.
so we didn't have an issue with the condition other than 2C, and we talked about this at the last meeting, I believe, about the timing of the testing.
Yep,
Right.
that's right. What, can you recap that for us, Wes?
So we were looking at having the testing be done at the beginning of each phase. That's how we're, at the.
I think the way it's worded, it said it has to be done within 60 days.
60 days of approval.
Approval.
So
So,
instead of it being done within 60 days of approval, they want to do it, obviously, when they're out there doing the phasing.
Well, you want to do it before, you're gonna test before you start, right?
so my real thought is you're gonna test when you, right after you cut trees but not stump.
Sure.
So as they're starting to get out there to start stumping, then we would start doing our testing. But at least we can get a machine around a lot easier once they have the trees cut down.
Fair enough.
So what do
And
you-
this does say, or prior to beginning installation of the drain system, whichever occurs first.
Whichever occurs first, so that's why it's always that 60 days is gonna occur first.
Yeah, that doesn't occur first.
60 days from approval is gonna occur.
Occur
Occur
first.
first.
Yes, it's
So
gonna.
that's why
That's why they want to get rid of the 60 days.
yes.
I'm fine with taking that
So
out.
what do you propose then, or just?
That language, just take out 60 days?
Yeah, within
Testing
60
must be
days of approval.
completed, prior to beginning installation of the drain system after tree clearing?
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
that's really kind of what I.
Get rid of which occurs first at the end? Get rid of the 60 days,
All right,
okay? You got the gist of that, Dave?
yes I do, good, thank you.
Thank you. Are you guys fine with that, the board members here? I don't have an issue with it. We talked about it, and I think we did pretty much give them the green light for that already, so I don't wanna, dig up the dirt here. Let's keep moving. Okay, so, all the other items within 2, you guys are in agreement with?
Yes.
The mass soil tester, DEP, right? You can't really mess around with that, so.
Exactly.
Okay, beautiful. Item number 3, the stormwater system shall be maintained in accordance with this.
Oh, yeah, no, every other section, sorry, I apologize, I thought you meant every other 3 through 6, I thought you said we were good with it, because I think on number 6 you were gonna.
Yeah, no, just, I'm talking A, B, C, D.
Yep.
Right, C was the only one you had a problem with within group
Correct.
2.
Yep.
Now we'll move on to number 3.
Yep.
Okay,
Number 3 we're good with,
you're good with number 3?
yep.
Okay, Dave, so we can add number 3.
Yep, got it.
Number 4,
Number 4 is the, yep,
you're good with that one, right?
yep, because this is the basin that they're gonna be owning at once, the existing basin that they're gonna own.
Okay,
So it's part of the operation maintenance plan, really, it's kind of tied to 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, number 5.
Yeah, they've already agreed to that.
Yeah, I mean, that's just the mailbox, right? You gotta talk to the US Post Office, where to put your mailbox, right? And then number 6. Right,
It's
I mean,
the
all the stairs
stairs.
must comply to the Mass Building Code. Right.
And really, yeah, the reason this came up, it had to do with the stairs within the trail system.
Oh,
That's why this came up.
okay.
It
So I
wasn't
think it should be
necessary.
clarified.
Yeah,
We're not-
yeah, I like that, Peter. I like that. So can we just, all stairs within the trail system? Walking path or trail system, not the houses, I mean,
Right.
Lord,
There are no stairs now.
yeah,
right.
so.
We talked about, you just mentioned tree clearing, and we talked way back when the lines are delineated as far as where trees are gonna be cut, that the town could have the opportunity to do that logging and realize the revenue from that. So I don't know whether that needs to be mentioned anyway.
I was gonna bring that up, because
I beat you to it.
thank you.
I mean, that's, whatever, so I'm just gonna say, let's talk about, I mean, I don't know nothing about that personally. I don't remember discussing that in these hearings. I mean,
No, it was.
that sounds like it's a term.
IDIC.
Yeah, that sounds like it's a term of the purchase and sale agreement or something like that.
So they're in the process of,
It's not in
Curtis,
the LDA, you know.
Curtis started,
Bottom,
Looking
you don't have a
into
problem with that.
I don't even know what.
Well, basically, we had some of that property logged before, and the town paid whatever it was and ended up getting $20,000, let's say, for the trees. And we talked about this way back when, doing the same thing when your lines of,
Or was that the solar thing?
yeah, well, no, we talked about it. So when you come up with what trees you want to cut, all right, you string a line and say, all right, these trees are coming down, that the town would have the opportunity to pay to have a logger come in and take care of removing those trees, I guess is what I'm saying.
I don't see an issue. Do you, Peter?
As long as we would treat it like any other typical vendor, because it's gonna be your property at that point, you need insurance and all that
Oh, yes,
stuff.
I understand that part, but it's not a cost to us, it's a
Right.
cost saving
Right.
to us.
Exactly.
The only thing
Benefit to the town
I'm not trying to get in the middle of this, but I just wanna make sure that that's done expeditiously so that nothing's held up for construction.
Oh, yeah,
Cause
yeah.
Well, one of the
I don't know what kind of process you're gonna go to hire somebody, cause we're the town, we're not just, hey, Ronnie, get over there, mow this acre down,
It
come
would
on down
have,
next
it would have to
Monday.
go through
You know.
Harbor Classic, but.
Yeah, but
we-
the
we-
town may have to go through a process, Peter, where it goes out to bid.
No, we already have one,
You do.
yes.
Is it quick?
We already have the gentleman, the forester.
Oh, you got them teed up?
Oh, yeah, and he's out there now checking out not only this piece of
Okay.
property we're talking about, but others.
Okay, all right. I just wanna make sure this doesn't become a 2-month process.
We won't
This
let
guy's
that
ready to
go.
get ripping
I
here,
know.
and we're holding him up.
If there's any delay at all, it'll go away.
That's all.
The other thing is bound markers, eventually people are gonna put in bound markers, because if I go up there to take a look around, do I know where these bounds are?
Well,
Have you set anything in yet?
I don't
No,
think
haven't
any,
set
I don't think
any-
any, like corner bounds or granite bounds or, corner markers have been
You
installed.
haven't done any surveying, right?
There's
No.
nothing on the, well, they've
Oh, they've
surveyed,
done, we've done survey.
but I don't
yeah,
know as though there's any
We haven't set any,
bound. I know you haven't set. What did you locate? It would be on the plan if you located it.
not in this plan. I don't have the A and R plan
Yeah.
right in front of me.
That's
so-
But you will set bound markers at
It
some
would
point.
be.
Oh, yeah, you're gonna have to.
Don't,
Well, we have to know where your land starts and ends, right?
put out to bid for the
Well,
tree clearing?
Okay.
Didn't we have to do that
Yeah.
before?
Well, I mean, physically,
Did we
do it
physically.
already?
To the-
if-
No, the foresters,
You know,
he's for marking
We
and
can't
things like
have,
that. Then
we
he
can't
puts it
have
out for
your
bid.
We can talk with
occupants.
Whitman and Bingham
And
about
we're-
maybe
what we're
But
certain-
I
trying
thought
to
the
certain-
forester didn't have to
Well, yeah,
intervene.
on the roadsides.
Yeah.
We don't
Didn't we
necessarily
interview
care about the
foresters before?
forest side.
Doesn't matter, Kurt did it
The
before.
backside.
Kurt did it before and he's doing it
Because once the
again.
center line of the road is
So it's not an
located, you're
issue.
only gonna cut within
And,
the boundary.
Yeah, but
of
what
the site.
prevents, so what
was-
prevents one of your
trying to-
homeowners from
we're
putting
trying
a
to find
garden
out if
on
we're
the
gonna get
town
enough
property?
money, get
If
Paul
we don't
Davis
know where
in,
the bounds
the
is, you know
grind.
where the
Yeah,
boundary
yeah,
is.
yeah.
They're gonna know
On
where
the
their
other
bounds
side.
are.
so. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
They're gonna get it, they're gonna get a deed that's gonna let them know what their actual exclusive use area is, so they're gonna know.
Because if I put a granite boundary over here and another one over there, the one in the middle is never gonna know it.
Well, I think we have to delineate where your property is and ours is, right?
You should already have that, because you
I
had this property for.
I can talk with.
We'll talk offline about
I don't
this.
wanna get all hung up on
Yeah,
that.
I'm
I
not
know-
even sure
I
what's
know
shown
what
on
you're
the A
trying
and
to
R plan.
accomplish.
Okay.
It's not
That's all.
really, it's not
Yeah.
really site plan HPDD.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
And for the
can,
most part, it's boxed in on 3
That's my
sides.
point. That's
You
my
might just
point.
have to kind of put a couple markers on that bottom end and
On the
just
street side.
on that, yeah, and just cut that side in, but other than that, everything else is pretty much, I would think it's already there to some degree, but,
Way too far.
So
unless
this
you guys bring, so REIC will deal with that, basically.
Yeah.
So this is not a condition of this approval,
No,
this tree issue,
no.
or is it?
No,
No,
doesn't,
No.
it's
no.
a separate
No,
site.
the-
We'll work that
The
out.
tree issue and the bounds.
That's more of a
Yeah.
purchase and sale type issue. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it really doesn't matter. Does anybody else have any other items, issues, things to add?
I
Yes.
mean, it's just, the waivers that we,
Yeah.
we.
Just as far as, before we jump to the waivers on order conditions, does anybody have anything else to add to it?
The only thing I was gonna ask, how much fill are you gonna bring in to put the houses in right there?
Why does that matter?
which one's the bottom ones?
On the left?
The intent is to cut
Cut and relocate?
and relocate as much as we can, yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna
So-
you're gonna drop the surface down.
The first phase is some cutting going on to get the grade to work, to meet the subdivision rules and regulations. So, yeah, as they go in, there's gonna be some cut and flopping, basically is how we were looking at it. So there is a fair amount of cut in here that would happen. So they'll end up moving the material out. But as the phase kind of goes along, even like with these, it's cut, fill, cut, fill, cut, fill, cut, fill, and then along here, it's gonna be,
And that,
using some of the other material, and if they have to.
yeah,
But
I just, and that bulge on the,
no, that's,
in the
yeah.
lower
Yeah.
part there, that's the one that seems a little bit lower than anything else. I don't know if you're gonna, keep them down low, or you're gonna bring it up some, or what?
No, so we show most of these as walkouts.
Okay,
We know obviously they want to have, they'd like to have one-story living as much as they can, but they're still going to have the walkout basements.
Mhm.
If the people use them or not, well, that's a different story, but that's the only way we can get the grading to work
okay,
along this section here to alleviate that issue, because that is one thing that we talked about when we were doing the design of this, is to make the site work a lot less, was to make walkout basements along there. There's going to be some walkout basements along,
yeah,
these two rows here,
yeah,
so.
okay.
Okay.
But yeah, there is, it's not ideal for an over 55, but if you're 56, you're probably still using your stairs, right? If you're 80,
Yeah.
if you're 80, you're gonna buy the
I'm
units.
worried about
That,
56.
if you're 80, you're gonna be buying the units that are flat, so.
What if you're 79
Huh.
today?
You still like your stairs?
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
You got more usable space in your basement then.
And if I don't get the heck out of here soon, my phone's gonna be ringing.
Okay, so let's jump into these waivers. I think this will go pretty
Okay.
quick. All right, we're all good on the order of conditions. So I think at this point, we can kind of wrap that discussion up and let's get to the waivers, okay?
All right.
Waiver A, sewer slope. They're asking for a waiver to go to .006, slope of .01 is required. This office, Quinn had no issue with this. I got no issue with it. We good?
Yeah, I think
Waiver granted?
we usually allow
We have to vote on these?
.08.
I would
Yes.
like to vote on them.
Yeah.
I would ask you to vote on
Yeah, I
it.
think
I
the
just
vote
don't
is
like the fact that we just say, okay,
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
all three of us die, and then all of a sudden,
Yep,
we have
okay.
no idea what the hell we just
All right,
voted
so,
on.
somebody got a motion?
I also move.
Okay, we got
I'll
motion made.
second.
Doug seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Motion is unanimous. Waiver granted for the sewer slope. Item A, okay? Item number B, roadway gravel base. I believe we discussed this and already addressed this. And
It still needs to be.
we should
specific.
vote on this and amend this language, Dave?
which we have already discussed.
So you already have discussed, so do we have a motion to vote on this as amended in previous discussions?
Yeah, why don't you make the motions and I'll second, just to make it easier for her.
Yeah.
Well, in that case, so moved.
Second?
Second, okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, unanimously carried as amended, okay? Waiver C, drain pipe material. The HPDD drain pipe is proposed, RCP pipe is required. Waiver has been granted by the planning board, and this office, Quinn had no exceptions to this waiver. Do we have a motion to grant this waiver?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, motion is unanimous. That waiver is granted for the RCP pipe in lieu of HDPE pipe. I'm sorry, the other way around. HDPE pipe is allowed in lieu of RCP. Item D, roadway curb. We've agreed on that, I believe, again, we've discussed this, and I would say that this waiver should be granted as we've discussed. There'll be a type 3 curbing with the granite curbing by the storm drains. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, motion's unanimous to allow the curb to be a type 3 curb with the granite headways on the catch basins. Item E, street trees. We've kind of already agreed on the landscaping again, right? So, Are we waiving, what is this waiver, what are they asking for? Street trees are subject to post depicted on plans, street trees are required at 50-foot intervals, the officer defers to the board. So do we have a motion to allow the tree spacing as per the plans?
And not species,
Species are on the plan.
which are hard maple?
Whatever was,
What did we discuss? Remember we talked about
That was
those
2
things?
meetings ago.
That was a lot.
I was there when we discussed it,
That was a
yeah.
lot of time.
They gave you the types of trees. Because you were concerned about the boxwoods, but they're not invasive.
That's
We
right.
liked it, whatever it was, we liked it.
They're not invasive.
But I said hard maple for crying out loud, so the people in the, can tap the trees and make their own syrup.
Oh, well. You don't need competition, do you?
And the trees that have been proposed to show up on sheet 9 of 16
9 of 16,
are
yeah.
river birch,
White
white
oak.
oak, dogwood, red maple, or ginkgo.
Red maple.
Yeah, I can't beat Dingo.
Are required at 50 foot. Are the trees more dense than on the plan? Does it matter if they're more dense?
So,
No, you can have as many as you want.
Yeah.
I wasn't able to show, so your requirement is 50 foot, so I show shrubs and trees. The
Right.
requirement is every 50 feet because of the way the driveways are. Sometimes I can't meet
That
the
doesn't-
50-foot spacing.
And if you look, they're kind of
Oh,
located
oh.
between the units, Michelle.
And I
So
also add
Right.
something.
if you want to maintain sightlines,
I mean,
when
it
a
does
person's
look,
backing
it
out of their
does
driveway,
look,
you
that's
don't
what I'm
want
saying
two
on
trees.
the, on there, it
You
does
know,
look
box
like
them
they
in.
are.
I also show some
Bang
shrubs in
and everything.
between because that,
Yeah,
so it does,
got
at
it.
the end of the day, you're getting similar amount of trees. It's just the spacing, we cannot meet that requirement
I
exactly.
see.
Because of the number of driveways.
Hopefully there's a good tree company in the future. Also move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so the trees will be installed as per the plan and the species previously indicated. Okay, section F waiver. Catch basin diameter. 48-inch diameter is proposed on single grate catch basins, and 60-inch diameter is proposed on double grate catch basins. 60-inch inside diameter is required for all catch basins. It is, Quinn's note is, it's expected that the proposed roadway will remain privately owned, the town will not be responsible for maintenance. The office defers to the board, but takes no exception to this waiver request, so Quinn has no issue with this. Does this board,
Negative, therefore I go.
we have a motion?
Yes.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded,
Oh, I guess.
all in favor to approve
Aye.
the catch
Aye.
basin waiver of 60-inch to 48-inch for the single grate? All in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Hearing any nays? Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. Item G, security bars. Security bars are required at the entrance and outfall of all culverts. This waiver has been, so Quinn stated, this waiver has been granted by the planning board in the past in several subdivisions. They defer to this board. They have no exception for that waiver. They take no
Say,
exception. to
what
that.
Quinn said, what?
All right, I'll repeat. This waiver, Quinn states, and I quote, "This waiver has been granted by the planning board in the past at several subdivisions. This office," his, Quinn's, "defers to the board but takes no exception to the waiver request."
Okay. No security bars. So
No security
moved.
bars.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor to not allow, to relieve them from putting the security bars in the culverts? All in favor? Aye. Any nays? Hearing none, motion's unanimous. Item H, the head walls. Head walls are required at both ends of culverts. Quinn's note is the waiver has been granted by the planning board in the past at several subdivisions. This office again defers to this board, and they take no exception to this waiver request. So,
So moved.
Second.
any discussion?
I have a
Yep.
silly question.
Yep, go ahead.
What is a head wall?
A head wall is, you know when the culvert comes out of the ground?
Yeah.
And a lot of, sometimes they'll build a concrete wall around it
Yep,
to keep it stable.
okay.
Okay, so it doesn't, whatnot. And
Shift,
so,
okay.
in lieu of that head wall, you can put riprap stone or something
Got
like
it.
that, and that stone flows out.
We use the flared ends now.
The flared ends, yeah.
The,
that
the
pipe
prefab
that
flared
opens up,
ends, so that, yeah,
Like
it a lot more gently opens up. It doesn't
Just
Yes.
drop.
it doesn't have that ugly look a lot of times that
Okay,
the head wall has to.
Okay.
Kind of
Thank
hides
you.
into the grass.
And the only discussion I'll say to this is I believe we already agreed to allow this.
yeah.
Do we have a motion?
So
I think he
moved.
moved it.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any nays?
No.
Hearing and seeing none, motion carries unanimously. Head wall waiver is granted. Or removal of the head wall. Item I. Applicant is asking catch basins within 10 feet of driveway opening. So the applicant is asking to be able to put catch basins within 10 feet or in front of the driveway openings. Quinn's memo states, catch basins shall not be located within 10 feet of the driveway opening. See comment 20. So I'll refer to their comment 20. Their comment 20. Catch basins must be located 10 feet from a driveway opening. It is recommended that the catch basins be coordinated to meet the requirement, or at least be located outside of the opening as much as possible. Alternatively, a waiver should be requested if the separation cannot be provided, which they did. Quinn's office defers to this board. It is understood that a waiver will be required to allow each catch basin. They're kind of okay with it. They're not really saying whether they're for it or against it, but we've allowed it on other ones. Susie has them up there,
Per the plan.
per the plan. Excellent.
The catch basin locations we, per the plan, driveway locations could change, depending on what the unit ends up being flipped or mirrored or whatever the.
Oh, yeah, as the driveways come together or open up, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, correct.
Yep.
Yeah, separate them.
So
Yeah.
moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing, seeing none. Motion carries unanimously to allow those within 10 feet of the driveway openings, catch basins. Item J, sidewalks shall be separated from the roadway by a strip of land loamed and seeded. So the applicant is asking to waiver it, so he doesn't have to do that, so they can put the sidewalk right up against the curbing. I believe we have already discussed this, and
Yes.
I don't think there's any reason to just discuss it anymore.
Yeah.
We've allowed him to do this, we're okay with it. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Waiver J is granted unanimously. Item K, street utility profiles. So they reference comment number 3, Quinn on this one. Quinn states, state utility profiles, the full review of the roadways and utilities cannot be completed until the profiles submitted. This office defers to the board. Street utility profiles have not been provided. A full review of the roadway and utilities cannot be completed until the profiles are submitted. This office defers to the board if a waiver is appropriate. I think it's in our opinion the waiver is appropriate. We've reviewed the cross-section of the roadways or driveways, whatever you want to call those, and we've agreed on all where the utilities are going, electric and water, sewer, et cetera. So I'm in favor. I have no issue with this waiver. You guys all go with it?
So moved.
Second?
Second, any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of granting the waiver for item K for the street and utility profiles?
Aye.
Aye? Okay. Anybody nay? Hearing none. Motion carries unanimously.
Are there any other waivers to be added?
That is it.
That is it?
Okay.
There was something else, Peter, do you have that? The email that, the highlighted email? I don't think there was anything yet. Is there anything?
No, because the waivers were separate, the waivers were in the
Okay, I just wanna make sure
the
there's something else
response
in there.
letter from Quinn.
Okay.
Okay, so, that was a couple of hardcore hours right there. We banged out some good stuff. So I think at this point, we have this hearing continued for 2 more weeks out. I think that gives the applicant and Dave, the heavy lifting's on you now with town council to just work through any of those other things, finalize any of the language, and have a really finite, well-prepared order of conditions and decision for us to review for the next meeting. And that, I think,
In the water flow.
and the water flow, yeah. There's a couple items here. There was the water flow, Dick, and we had a hold on, there was 2 items here. The water flow, there was something else I know we talked about, but yeah. So just to go through those things again,
I
finalize
think
that.
it's just the water flow.
Okay.
That's really the only open item.
Yeah.
Okay.
But we should keep.
Oh, no, the speed vibrations,
Rumble strips, yeah.
The rumble strips.
he was gonna put those on the plan. If they're on the plan, that's out of the order of
Okay,
conditions.
all right,
All
yeah.
right, so those are the 2 things we just gotta kind of wrap up, and you guys can keep continuing on all the legal mumbo jumbo, with the RDIC. It's really not gonna get in the middle of that.
Legal mumbo jumbo.
Well, we're not lawyers and
Is that gonna be in the minutes?
Absolutely.
Mumble jumble.
wouldn't have it otherwise, thank you. So I would expect at that next hearing, we can review this final copy of the decision, we'll be prepared to vote on this special permit.
That's on the 27th,
That's on the 27th, 2 weeks from today at 6:30.
and I will not be here.
Okay, then I will be,
You will be.
I will be.
You'll be able to zoom in though?
I can't, well, my daughter's wedding.
No,
geez.
no.
Okay.
But it was really simple, like I just watched it on YouTube, and then you just have to go to the town clerk and sign a form saying that you watched the meeting,
Okay.
and it was painless.
Well, it'll be irrelevant because he won't be voting anyways.
Oh, because we voted tonight.
And we've got 4, right? We've got a quorum.
You have a quorum.
We just have to be unanimous.
Correct.
Yeah.
That's really 5, we could have 1 dissenter.
Actually, it's a site plan, so it's
It's
3.
a site plan. It's not a variance where you need
Supermajority.
supermajority.
Site plan, so it's 3.
You really want
It's a
all
site,
4 though.
it's really just
Yeah.
a site plan
Absolutely. I think,
approval.
So we,
I think we're fine with
Get
this.
walked up.
Yeah.
It's really just a site
I
plan
might take
approval.
off.
It's not a special permit or a variance where you need a certain prescribed number. You just need a majority vote.
Okay. All right, terrific.
Is this a reasonable expectation that in 2 weeks, I mean, I'm talking kind of to you two guys who are doing all the heavy lifting here. I know it's a lot of work, but
We'll see.
I sure heck hope in 2 weeks that,
We'll give it our best.
We'll give it our
I think
best.
it's very possible. I mean, I think we're gonna have the language on some of these items that are gonna carry out, that, you know, that's the way it's gonna be. It's gonna be an order of condition, but that condition has to work itself out.
Yep.
To resolution for both sides. So I'm not sure how quickly town council is gonna wanna review this. Do we need their approval? We gotta have their
I would
approval on
like for
this.
them to take a look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah,
I
I've
would
already,
recommend that they.
I've already told Dave that I was reaching out to Sharon just to
Okay.
go over a couple of things, well, town council, just to go over a couple of things.
Okay.
It is appropriate to have some feedback for your.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Peter.
Given the
I-
magnitude of this type of
Yeah.
decision, we will circulate it to town council. I think we'll do our best to meet the deadline.
Okay.
I started the decision today.
I have another hearing on the 3rd, the week after that, so if you don't make the 27th, it'll go out 2 weeks, okay, just so you know.
I'm on vacation in that week of August.
The 10th,
Yeah.
so you're looking at the 17th.
Unless you consider a Thursday evening.
Oh, yeah, if you guys can do Thursdays, we could do Thursdays.
except the last, not early August. I'm away.
I think
That week
we're
of the
fine,
Okay.
because we
Fine.
got a couple of other items that are out there, so it'll fall into place within the next few weeks, no question
I
about it.
won't be back till the 6th.
next 2 weeks.
Well, you're off on you're back on the 3rd, though, that
No,
week,
I'm off till the 6th
till the 6th of
of
August?
August, yeah.
Okay, and then you're off starting pretty much right about then. Well, let's try to make it happen, if not, just may get kicked out to mid to late August.
We will
but-
make every effort on the
Yeah.
staff
Yeah.
side
Yeah.
to make this happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please do, because this will be,
We'll
we've
get
got it, it's hot, it's moving forward, we got some great momentum here. I really want to thank everybody for digging in tonight, and getting their elbows good and dirty, and, you know, keeping their hands and feet going here, because this was good. We had it at this point, we hammered through it all, and now it's just a matter of cleaning
As a
things up.
continuance
Peter, does it
to
make
the
any sense
27th.
for you and Dave to set up every second day, you know, at 9 o'clock, to talk about what you
I
want?
wish I had that type of
Oh, okay.
flexibility.
We'll figure it out.
All right, you guys figure it out. All right, the one question
I can agree to it now, whether I can actually
Yeah, that's
mean it.
exactly right.
Um,
Thank you.
Can I just ask the status of DCR? You know, it's my pet peeve, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry I'm a nuisance about it.
So I'm playing phone tag with him currently. So the application is in, he emailed me on Monday, I called him, and so I opened another call, see if I can get hold of him, but I don't think he works from out of the office a lot, I think he works from home, so it's just a matter of trying to get a moment of when he's in his office or
Just want to get a
by the
motion.
phone.
Okay, next question.
It was brought up at the last meeting about a fire hydrant, emergency fire hydrant off the
Right.
pond. Just to let you know, I talked to Dan Clark, who's the head of the Ware River watershed.
Yep.
And normally he doesn't approve of it, but he says, if you want to have something like that, send him a design of it and where you would like it. And he says he probably would approve it because of the number of units and something like that. It might be advantageous to have something like that close by,
Where would you put that?
down by the dam.
Wow, that's a tough place to get to, though.
Couldn't it? Just drive up the road and right down the road to the dam. It's not that, it's easy to get to.
Oh, it's not hard to get there, but with a fire truck, I
Do
would
we-
think
You might have trouble.
Okay, so that's something the IDIC can follow up with? That's outside this board's really
Yeah.
review,
No
right?
problem.
It's not, it's on the town of Rutland land, it's
Right.
not
Right.
on.
Right.
It was
Yeah, that's
the-
really
the
nothing,
only
it's
thing,
outside, this
But
property.
somebody had just brought it up and
Good
I,
time to strike while the iron's hot, right? Yeah.
just to let you know.
Do you need a motion to,
To continue the hearing to July 27th at 6:30 PM.
So moved.
second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Hearing none, motion carries unanimously, this hearing is continued to then.
I'm such an
No, now you
optimist.
gotta
I'm bringing
adjourn.
it
We also gotta adjourn the
Stop to
meeting.
adjourn.
Is any, next item on the agenda, any new old business?
No.
Hearing none, do I have a motion to close this meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. No nays,
I'm bringing it
unanimous, we close it.
Thank you.